Hello. Are we live
Hi.
again?
I'm checking.
Yeah? Just make sure because Texas just has the crappiest reception of all time. However, I am liking looking at Instagram on 3 different places, though. That's legit.
We're just full
Full of
Instagram.
things. I don't know if it's going to let you connect through there. We're trying something new so we can keep up with you guys.
Not.
And it didn't work right now.
Hold on though.
On pause. Just hold on a second. Yeah. Oh, there we are. Yeah, I pulled up on her phone.
We'll just do it there.
Great. Now she can hear me in 2 places, which is even better.
Okay, we're ready.
Are you ready?
friends. Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I need to get a podcast intro done. Like, I got to figure it out. I'm not doing great so far.
I think our signature is just the unprepared intro every time.
I think that we can continue to do that.
Yeah.
We
It works for me.
soar at that. So, we actually managed to do this on time this month.
Yeah, the April one is actually taking place in April. Isn't
In
that
April,
fun?
the beginning of April,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know how we happened to manage that. I think it was honestly happenstance. That's kind of my goal.
It just worked out.
Yeah,
magically.
so per usual, we're having a drink. We're going to answer some questions. We're going to talk about some things. I have some ideas of things to talk about because there are a couple things that I would like to address
Okay.
moving forward. And then also, I want to hear so many things about my new nephew that I've yet to meet.
Okay.
So we can go from there.
Okay.
You guys were great in sending in a whole bunch of topics to talk about. So we're going to go ahead and address those first, and we'll just ping back and forth like we usually do. What'll happen is, of course, this will be saved. We'll probably take an intermission around 30 minutes or so.
Yeah,
I
so
don't
that
know.
we don't get kicked off
We
again.
usually do an hour because that just seems to be how long we can talk and how many drinks I can get in my body and still be able
Yeah.
to drive home, which is good. So we're going to do that, and then we'll just keep going. So, sounds good?
Yep.
What's our first topic today?
Okay. Let's see. Your biggest challenge with Posey so far?
Not being able to manage the fact that she's growing so fast. It seems to be the main one. I think it's mainly that I worked with really spicy, sensitive young tricaners for, let's say like 6 or 7 years, Joy being the last one. And so I was really prepared for this absolute nightmare of a foal, and instead she's turned out to be something completely different than what Joy was.
Of course.
So just, it's like Joy knew that I needed a break. So the big thing is learning that she's easy to shut down a lot more than Joy is, and she's much more against pressure than Joy. So it's more about relearning how to work with something that is a little bit less forward thinking. She can be a little backwards thinking for the moment. Also, right now, she is kind of in a clumsy, angry, like bulldozer phase.
What happens?
So I just got to deal with that. She got me in the leg earlier this morning while she was doing a downward dog stretch. I think she did it to get out of trouble.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it's great. You should see the bruise.
Yeah, I bet.
It's been good. But in general, I think it's just learning to work with her the best way because
She's different.
she's very, very different than what I was anticipating in all the best ways.
Yeah.
Good ways. I could be great by now if she had been what I thought.
And also, she is so big that she, like, literally outgrew her own body, so.
I don't know what had happened, honestly.
So,
She just like, I looked in the pasture the other day and I was like, oh, that's going to be rough in about 2 to 3 years.
she's not gonna be able to keep up with all that.
Right. And so, taking Joy on walks and stuff like that was so easy because it was just like, it was having a little pony and it wasn't anything, because Joy was already such an aggressive lead mare at that age. It's 6, 7 months old all the way through now. But she's still relatively small comparatively. And then Posey is just the size of a truck.
Yeah.
And
She's already bigger than him.
and she's already, I think she measured 14.1 already, and is teaching her to understand her own spatial proximity is a little bit more difficult than with Joy, because Joy was just like this big. She's like little nugget.
She's like, well, I can fit anywhere, so it's fine.
And now Posey is the size of a monster.
Okay. This one's 3 questions. How long have we been riding? Have we ever tried Western? And where did you get the idea for Posey's name?
Posey, I'll do that quick because it's a kind of a frequently asked question, is that I had names picked out, F names, for boys and fillies. I don't know.
Colts and fillies.
This. But I didn't publicize them to anyone because I was being a little superstitious. So I had a couple of F names for colts. But I knew if I got what I wanted, which was going to be a chestnut filly, that I would give her a special name, and it was from one of my favorite movies, which is called About Time, and the child, like the first daughter of that family in About Time, is this perfect, beautiful, bouncing redhead baby girl. And I always thought that it was really sweet, and it's an important mood in my marriage and my relationship with Taylor. And she actually happened to be born on Earth Day. So it worked out in 2 ways.
Yeah.
And I got what I wanted, which was the best. So I think that's all. I think I told you. You knew that, though.
Yeah.
You knew it was going to be a P. I had a bunch of F's and a P, and that was it, really. So what about you? Have you ever tried Western?
Not outside of like trail riding. So, like, when you go on vacation, you go on like trail rides, that kind of stuff. And then
Well, it's just easier to put people
for
in.
people who have no idea what they're doing, they always have Western tack for those kinds of places. And then, but
Hey, Miriam, is your daughter asleep? Am I going to see my little Elsie tomorrow?
just taking a break.
Yeah, Lady needs a break. She just has the most perfect child in the whole world, so she deserves it.
But what about you?
I've been in a Western saddle exactly one time in my life, and I hated every second of it. I think the saddle, of course, did not fit me. I came off with huge bruises on my butt, and then it's just a different feel. It wasn't for me. Like, being in a jumping saddle is still kind of relatively familiar from when I was a child, and I didn't have any other tack, but I much prefer a dressage saddle. It's fine with me. That comes from the fact that I've been writing English for the entirety of my writing career. So, I mean, it'd be fun. I would like, people ask what kind of discipline I like to try, and I would love to try pinning, because I think that would be fascinating, because it's so much that this horse is like, knows far more than me.
Yeah, the horse is like,
It's like, that's a fucking cow. We're
really
gonna
on
get the
top
cow.
of it.
So I think that would be fascinating because of the autonomy. But that's about it. How long have you been writing?
oh my God, how old am I?
I did that today. I had to do math. I was posting the little video, the picture of Apple Dine today, and I was like, okay, so I cut my
What
hair
year
when I
is
was like
it?
8.
Yeah.
So it was a whole thing.
I started taking lessons when I was 8, so almost 20 years.
There you go.
And then like pony rides and stuff before that.
Yeah, I think it was pony rides from like 3 to 5 for me. Because that's when I met you. It was when I was like 5 or 6. But I know I met Apple when I was 6. And so I was definitely in a lesson program then. So that's going on. It's on 21 years. My writing career can legally drink. And we'll be going on 22 years on my birthday in June. Because I got my first lesson as a birthday present. Makes it easy to remember. It's a good anniversary to celebrate.
Yeah, mine was Christmas, which is right after my birthday. So
See, there you go.
So I can
It's so much easier than it like being, I don't
just
know,
the middle of the year. or
March
something.
12th or something. I don't know. So, those are some of the basic questions, yeah? Yeah?
Yeah.
What's next? You have the computer and I'm trying to read, but I can't read through your glass.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thoughts or tips on trying to make horses a full-time career?
Woman, that's all you. That's all you. I'm in law school. I am miserable. That's my full-time career right now.
It's really hard. I don't know. I guess really the only tip I would have, it kind of also depends what you mean by that, like what part of the industry you want to be your full-time career.
Yeah, like, do you want to be a groom full-time? Do you want to be a working student? Do you want to be a trainer?
So if you want to like ride and train as your career, then my suggestion personally would be to find a trainer that you like get along with really well, share the same kind of training philosophy, and work for them or be a working student or whatever you can arrange.
Why is your ear bleeding? Did you cut your ear?
No,
What happened?
it's just from my earrings.
It's bloody.
I know, settle down, it's okay.
Okay.
So yeah, to be a working student or work for them as an assistant or whatever you can kind of work out, because you will learn a lot that way, and you can also kind of take from them, learn aspects of how to run an actual business as a trainer.
Or how not to run a business
yeah.
as an actual trainer.
Hopefully not, but also a possibility. If you want to be like a groom, like a head groom at a big like international competition stable,
Or for a big barn that travels everywhere like that, it almost starts in being a working student position.
you would start as a working student. I know there is, now I can't remember, I'll have to look it up and I'll put it in the notes whenever we post this, but there is actually a sort of a school that runs like a professional grooms training course that lasts like maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know all the details.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know
But
that.
they literally teach you everything, like how, like the basics of like grooming, checking for lameness, how to wrap legs, how to jog out, braiding, like literally every part of being a professional groom they teach you. So I know a lot of professional riders will send their head grooms to that program so that they can just know that they have A to Z, the whole education.
That's
so
pretty cool.
yeah, so a lot of it's going to be involving being a working student, but
grunt
just
work.
yeah, find people. Yeah, you're going to have to do a lot of the grunt work, but find people that you hopefully share ideals with and learn from them.
I will add a brief note because I accidentally ended up in part of the Young Rider program with my George Williams clinic, which I didn't realize at the time was essentially made for young riders pursuing a career in dressage. Use those because I learned a ton, even though I was the oldest girl there. I think I was 20, right?
Yeah.
Dad got mad at me for drinking, even though my birthday was like 3 months away, and I wasn't driving. But if you can get involved in those kinds of programs, I know they have them down, the young professional programs down in Wellington. You can check through the USDF. But if that's something that you want to pursue as a dressage rider, I know that there is a really, like an emerging athletes program, and it teaches you the behind the scenes basics of professionalism. So it not only teaches you about riding, there's a whole fitness component to it. You do a whole bunch of clinics on different horses, that kind of stuff. You don't necessarily have to compete in junior young rider. There was an interesting study that Eurodressage did about the actual percentage of people who compete in junior young rider nationals and then go on to be professionals, and it's remarkably low. So
yeah, it's kind of sold as this like
and
all be all.
And in a lot of ways
not.
it can be, right? It can be that stepping stone if you so desire it to be.
Yeah, but a lot of them are, I think, end up being girls that are riding when they're young, and that's like
That's the goal?
Their goal, and then they move on to college or, and then eventually their career.
Yeah. And if you're looking to do something that is, if you're wanting to, like I have a friend who ended up being a rider in Germany, and that requires you to find the right trainer. So if your ultimate goal is to be professionally trained abroad and then come back to the States, you will have to find someone who will accept you as a rider student. So something to just consider. I was lucky enough to know someone who went through that kind of program, and it was an amazing experience to hear about. It sounds horrifying. I don't think I would want to do it. But he's still one of my dear friends today and is probably one of my absolute favorite athletes in our region right now. He does an amazing job, especially with young horses and especially with mares, which I think is just top notch. So keep doing you. But those kinds of programs exist. It's just about finding someone who can consistently give you that kind of structure. Otherwise, you're kind of up a creek.
Yeah, it's a really hard industry to make a living in.
Yeah, it's
So-
rough. So maybe start with a side job or a full-time job and then do it at night.
Yeah,
Treat it like night school.
yeah, I have like 4 different part-time jobs, so
God, I wish I made any money. But yeah, I think that's probably it because I never planned on being a pro. That was never my goal.
yeah.
I would like to have my own little breeding practice, but you don't really have to be a pro to do that.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily that I want to be a professional, like designated a professional, because yeah, like I am not aiming at this point for my income to be from training or teaching. So
Maybe eventually, though. It just takes a long time to build up that clientele base.
Yeah.
It's like any customer-based
right,
job. It just happens to have very expensive animals.
yeah. So the short answer is it depends what part of the industry you want to be your full-time career.
Yeah, and as non-professionals, you're welcome to drop us a message, and we can point you in the right direction. If it's something that you want to pursue in dressage, I can certainly get you the information from the USDF website and at least point you to people that you can talk to. If it's something that you want to do for eventing and you want to talk to Erin, go for it because she knows more about that whole scene than I will ever. Maybe I still ask her about how the dressage levels work. It doesn't make any sense to me. But it's rough, but it's incredibly rewarding, especially if you don't come from an equestrian family.
Yeah.
And maybe don't come from an equestrian family with a lot of means. I think that can make it very difficult. But anyway, there's those 2 cents. Sid, how's your foot? What did you do? I saw something about the bone bruise healing, so you better tell me about that later. Sid took a big ass fall into a jump, broke the standard, and then they thought she broke her foot through her boot.
Ow.
It's a bone bruise. She apparently wore heels on a Saturday night, which
They're the worst though.
yeah, it sucks. Either way, She's
She says not dead yet.
awesome. That's better. Okay. See, we're all right. Hey, Seth. What's going on, my man? I know that you messaged me and I haven't gotten to respond, but I am so sorry. And you're on my list. It's a long list of things to talk about. Okay, where are we going next?
Are you debuting a freestyle this year?
I have something in the works with a friend of mine. Yes. But the whole issue is that this whole year has not gone the way that I thought it would.
Yeah.
And your year is like going up, and my year is just slowly like going down. So, what? A long list of like people that I need to respond to that I've been in communication with. Don't be sassy with me. So I would like to do my freestyle in the fall. We're hoping that I have an idea of what I'm going to do. Hopefully it'll be the Pre-St. George. I'd like to qualify it for regionals and get like a couple of my scores for my silver bar. I think that'd be nice. However, I have to be able to ride my horse.
Yes, that's the first.
She was sound this morning.
It's good.
It's just a wind puff now. So that's where I'm going. Fingers crossed. I don't know. It's a whole thing.
And then they also asked if we will both be riding Joy this year.
Yes, we will.
So.
Because let me be honest, law school ruins your life, at least for 3 years, if not more. Just kind of depending on how long it takes you to pass the bar. So Erin has always been a huge help for me when I need a second opinion on what's going on with Joy. She's the first person that I let on Joy after I had backed her. There was an incident with a cat jumping out of a bush, and it was really dramatic. But since then, Erin has been wonderful enough to take her on a couple of big eventing
I think
things.
it was more traumatic for Bailey than for Joy.
I was really just worried about everyone involved. And so Erin was like, I say lucky enough, but I mean like the opportunity was really cool. And just you happen to be on a cool horse too.
I consider myself lucky.
There you go. She got to ride in a clinic with, where are you taking Posey Grand Prix? Are we doing the thing that Shelby did when everyone like has every second lined up of this future, what is it, baby Beignet's life?
Appears to be.
Yeah, I had some of those questions when Posey was not born yet, and I thought it was a cult. I thought I was going to get a little black demon cult. But yeah, Erin has always helped me with that kind of stuff, meaning that she was able to take her out a couple times over summer that I was doing a full internship, 40 to 50 hours a week, which was great and has been really helpful, especially when Posey was around, about being an extra set of hands, because usually it's just me. Taylor's around. He does his job, and I love him for it. But sometimes I need someone to ride a horse for me. So the goal is to get Erin.
That's where he taps out.
Yeah. Hopefully sooner rather than later, Erin will take Joy out to get her bronze. Hey, Houdini. He's just coming around. Because I would prefer her to take Joy out at second and third level before I take her out at Pre-St. George. She will take control of Erin in the ring, and Erin will be writing the I-1 test and not know it. So everyone will get dinged and you won't be able to stop her.
Yeah, we don't want that.
So hopefully after finals are over, we'll have more solid plans from there. Freestyles, yes. Erin riding, yes. Me riding, yes.
Yes.
Yes. It's just,
All
that's all I got right now. There's not like a real plan involved.
Okay.
Hey, Sid, so the videos are saved live for 24 hours. Then we actually upload them to Two Red Mares. So you'll have access to them if you can't watch them right now. Usually, Erin uploaded the last one in like less than 5 minutes or some crazy nonsense.
As soon as my computer caught up with it.
Yeah, so it'll be there for you. You'll be able to tune in whenever you want. And if you need like background noise, maybe here we are. All right, what's next?
Okay, what is your best advice for someone who wants to learn dressage for the first time?
Don't be overwhelmed. And don't let anyone make you feel lesser than because you are just starting your education. Dressage is a lifelong pursuit. That's one of the things that I think if people talk to me about it, I probably talk their ears off, is that it's this lifelong pursuit of education, and every horse will benefit from it, and every person will benefit from it. But I think the big things are to not be overwhelmed and to not feel pressured by anyone to say, oh, well, you're not showing, or, oh, well, you're not doing sitting trot. Like, I remember when I was a teenager and people were like, oh, you're not doing simple changes yet. And I was like, that is the worst insult. It doesn't mean anything, and
No.
you're dumb.
The answer is no.
Like, I don't know what that is yet. So be sure to take your time and then find a trainer that understands your goals and teaches you classical dressage. Classical dressage is based upon the training pyramid, which apparently we're talking about later because someone asked me about that. I think asked us. It's not a me question. I won't take that.
Someone said dressage is the art of learning how much you don't know.
Yeah,
So,
that's about it.
Sounds accurate.
It's exhausting and mentally taxing and emotionally draining, and you will age 15 years in about 3 days. The best thing is to find, if you can, find someone who will let you lease a schoolmaster and learn from them. I think ideally that's the best way to learn. That's
That's
it.
honestly what I always say. Like, you cannot put a price on just a horse that will take care of you and teach you
Yeah,
the ropes.
yeah, it's incredible. Now, I was not lucky enough to do that, and that's
Yeah.
okay. If you have a horse that you're starting dressage on, be willing to stand up for your horse if you think something is wrong, and be willing to say you're wrong when you're learning, and that's okay. Having a green horse going into dressage, it might seem a little overwhelming, but it doesn't mean that you need to have a 7-year-old that's doing the developing Prix St. George test. You can have a 13-year-old paint and be learning training level, and that's perfectly fine. No one should give you crap about that. And find someone reputable in your area through the USDF Omnibus, I think is probably the best way to do it. Or if you can, find someone who's also licensed as a judge. It's the best way to do it. If you're confused about what any of those words mean, send me a message.
Do they have I don't know if it's just in eventing or if it's for all disciplines, do they have an instructor certification program for dressage?
They do. So it's more recent.
Okay.
So a lot of people are now, people that I know that are riding 4th level and above are now getting their like lower level certifications, but that's always something great to do. Like I said, I can find you the list if you tell me what region you're in, and I can send it your way. And I think that that's probably the best place to start. And then if it doesn't work, you can try again. You can find somewhere else. Yeah.
Lauren says that the comments are right over Bailey's face, and I honestly don't know if you can hide them.
Can you see me now? Can you see my asymmetrical eyeliner?
So maybe let's...
Here, no, come here. I don't want to.
The chairs don't go any closer
I know
together.
my fat thighs won't let you closer.
No,
but...
it's the actual chair.
Oh, I have a funny story about an
front
80s
seat.
song when we get offline, by the way, that my dad told me today.
Great.
So we'll talk about that later.
So...
See? Look, now you can kind of see my face, Lauren.
Yeah.
There we go, it's better.
Yeah, so all I was going to add to that was the instructor certification program, I guess in dressage, once it kind of starts
So
picking
close. Like, you're just so pretty. It looks good. I love your haircut. I haven't seen it done yet.
Thank you. Just washed it today.
Oh, well, I haven't washed mine,
The
and that's
first
why
time
it's straight.
in weeks. So that can kind of help you because they kind of have a baseline to work from that is correct. There's different levels that they can take the course through, but I don't know how it'll work exactly in dressage.
So, the certification program, from what I understand,
She
because...
says much better.
Hi. The certification program is still relatively new from the USDF, I believe, and so you can do it for, I think it's for each level. It's not per...
Well, so in eventing, it's not like the eventing levels, but there's like ICP 1, ICP 2, ICP...
No, so this is like intro through training, first and second.
It's not like that in eventing.
There's something like that.
Research that for dressage, and if you can find somebody that is working through that program, that would probably be helpful as well.
Also, if you're in an area I'm familiar with, I can send you some recommendations. Or I've got plenty of followers around in various regions that can give you people to go to and people to stay away from, which are the most important, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, where are we going next?
Okay. Advice for both starting a young horse under saddle and keeping an old horse going.
Well, I think we've both got experience with that, so I'm going to let you take the lead on this one.
I don't even know where to start. So
Start with Baby Shark.
Well,
are we calling him Shark? Is it official?
River.
No, it's going to be Shark. I'm going to get him a nameplate.
Except
that's
it's
gonna say
River.
Shark. It's Shark. You keep letting me call him Shark, and you haven't corrected me yet.
Because you said you were going to do it anyway.
Okay, so you listened to me. That's nice. That's really sweet. Okay, well, okay,
This
River.
would be futile. So River was already started under saddle when I got, he's off the track, so he was already,
He's a
he knows
monster on
a
the
lot
track.
of different things already.
Make Erin post the video that she found, because it's...
did.
Did you?
Oh, she says shark.
Yeah, see,
Lauren
Baby
says
Shark do, right? Like, he does the little dance, right? He was in the Katy Perry show.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. No, okay,
I
maybe
think
that's...
he would be horrified if he saw the baby shark costume, but that seems to be the most popular.
Well, yeah, because Shark is hysterical.
I know. But,
Okay, so River...
yeah, he already he came off the track, so he already knows a whole lot of stuff. But then I got him from somebody who had him from October when he came off the track until March when I got him. So
He's got some off the track knowledge.
yeah, so he's already been kind of restarted. So it's not starting him under saddle, but I do a lot on the ground with him.
Since
So
he's 3.
Yeah, he's 3. And so right now we pretty much, our routine every day is we lunge. He's good for like 30 minutes of work a day.
Because he's 3, it's 10 minutes per year.
Yeah, so we lunge for 20 to 30 minutes depending on how he's doing, and then he is actually at my trainer's barn right now. So it's like 20 acres and there's a lot of wooded areas and like
Someone
trails
said,
and stuff.
maybe call him River Shark. Please let there be a shark. Tiger sharks can live in salt and fresh water. Now it's become a Wikipedia page about shark information. Thank you guys.
Thanks, guys. So there's like a lot of different areas, and they're building a subdivision on the property, like literally immediately across the fence, like 50 yards from his stall. So
Sweet.
there's a lot of construction noise, and there's a lot of deer that like to hide in the trees and then jump out when you walk by. So we can handle the trucks and we can handle the deer, but together is still causing a little bit of airborne moments. So yeah, I lunge him for 20 to 30 minutes depending on how he's doing, and then with the bridle I just take him and hand walk him all over the property because he seems to be most confident that way.
That's nice. It's a good way of building confidence in a young horse.
So because I'm out there by myself quite a lot, and then if somebody else is out there, then I tack him up to lunge him every time, and then when I'm done lunging him, if there is somebody there, then I'll hop on him and walk him around and trot him in the little arena area.
Nice.
Or trot and canter.
So I'll be honest, most of my backing experience has been on horses that probably weren't prepared to be backed yet. And I know that now, right? I didn't know it as a teenager, and it's okay, right? Like, part of growing is admitting your mistakes. There was one specific time where my mentor got so angry at me because I was backing a young horse, a huge young horse. He's a big Dutch warm blood that came out with so much chrome. I couldn't believe all the chrome. He had the half blue eye. Remember me telling you about him? So I was lined up to get on him on the lunge line. He had been backed before, but my mentor ducked down to grab a sugar cube that he dropped, and that was as I swung a leg across, and this horse booked it. I mean, lost his mind. And because he was a really sensitive guy as it was, and lost it. And then I got shouted at for 30 minutes, and then I cried in a stall. So
That's why I don't ever want to have this responsibility.
Maybe that's why you also don't want to be with that mentor. I think that you and him would have very distinct views. What I will say about young horses is I am lucky enough to have had the time when I am backing them myself to start them not kind of clinically. Like there's not time limits.
Right.
You get to kind of treat them as individuals, and it's all about the preparation on the ground, all about it for a couple of months: saddle, bridle, lunging, making sure they can go off of aids, ground driving, all of that fun stuff. If you have the opportunity to have one of those dummies and put them on the horses, those are great. I absolutely adore those. With Joy, I did not have that, and Joy was the easiest horse of my life to back, and I couldn't believe it. Like, I hopped on her one day and she was like, "Cool." I was like, "Okay." And then it didn't continue. Like, under saddle she was fine, but it didn't continue into the rest of her work. It wasn't as straightforward. But it's all about making sure that you do small things that you're going to know are going to benefit them moving forward in the rest of their life, right? So you're starting the basic stuff of you're still walking forward, right? You're always halting square. You're never going backwards, ever, never ever. You're starting some straightness. You're starting some basic steering, and never do it on your own because it's just too dangerous. Yeah. I was lucky enough to have someone around who would at least be on the lunge line, even though she wasn't necessarily great to be around the horses. She did help me for making sure if something had happened to me or something had happened to Joy, that she could take care of that. That being said, I think the process overall could use a lot more patience. It's not something to be done in a day. And I adore taking my time.
Everything else.
Right, and people would think that, but there's those like colt starting clinics that people do, and people do them English and Western. Yeah. It's not just an exclusively Western thing, and I don't believe in that. And maybe it's because I'm lucky enough to have the time to devote into little increments each time. I think your mom said you're just joined. Hey, Mom.
She joined. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. Best. But I think that's probably the best way of doing it, is just slow. Yeah. And if you have no experience doing it before, don't do it on your own. Yourself, Never do it on your own, because not only will you make mistakes that will ultimately hurt your career in the future and confuse your horse, you will get hurt in some way. So please make sure you do it with at least you don't have to do it with a professional, but at least someone who has young horse starting experience. Yeah, is my best advice.
What about for Apple? getting an old horse going.
Apple's just kind of a crapshoot. Like I didn't really expect him to ever put him back in work.
Mm-hmm.
He just cantered up that hill one day, and I was like, it's time.
That's enough sitting around.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
you.
that's it. So we have this 90-degree hill on our property, and he's been kind of on and off lame thereabouts because he's had a couple of injuries, and he came galloping up the hill in a beautiful canter and up this hill. I mean, it was ridiculous. And I was like, yeah, you've been kind of a crap. So we're gonna go back to work. With him, it's just about listening to his body. He's been out of work for 2 or 3 years, like at least 2 or 3 years. So bringing him back into work really is about just basics, like making him use his body the right way, because he doesn't want to use his body the right way ever and never has. All right, and he's not built to move like a dressage horse.
Yeah.
So it's all about kind of making those compromises, and then just making sure he gets every other day off. So he doesn't get work 2 days in a row, because I think that's just too much for him. Because of his stifle issue, he also doesn't get lunged. He gets lunged once a week maybe, and that's it. He's not on any joint supplements right now. He was injected when I was younger, but that was because our trainer kind of like conned us into it, really. I think I was like 12, to be honest, so I didn't have any say. We were trusting this lady to do it for us and take care of him. He didn't need injections. He really just needed like Cosequin and Previcox, and he would have been totally fine.
Yeah.
So now if he does get stiff again, I will likely back off of the work and just go back to trail riding, stuff like that, to build up his strength, and instead of medicating him, because I'd like him to just be comfortable naturally.
Yeah.
Just because of how old he is. He's 25. And I have no plans for him in the future. So I just want him to be comfortable.
Trying to be happy.
Yeah. I mean, and I also ride him every other day because I am tall. And I also weigh a little bit more than him.
He's a tiny little thing.
I know. He weighs like 700 pounds. he's very little. Posey weighs more than him. But I like to do it anyway. It's just, it's nice to hop on him bareback and go have some fun. He's happy. I'm happy. Who cares? However, Houdini is still kicking ass. So you gotta shed some light on that.
Well, so for those that don't know, because I imagine a lot of you probably follow Bailey, but Houdini was my first pony, just like Apple was Bailey's first pony.
We get to talk about keeping our ponies, by the way. There's how we managed to do it through adulthood.
Oh, okay. So he was my first pony. Got him when I was 10, and
I'm getting a drink. Would you like another one?
Sure.
Okay. Well, do you want to chug that?
No.
Okay. Yeah, it's a bit tart to chug. Sorry. Made some really crappy drinks today.
I mean, they're good. There's just a little excess lemon juice, I think.
I'm going to do a little less.
Good. So Houdini, I got him when I was 10. He, I think, had done one event. He was 6. He was a little wild, but we went...
Well, he's also a Mustang. You might want to preface it with that.
He's a Spanish Mustang, yes. So we went up the levels of eventing together, and he... what was I gonna say? We got up to training level, which is pretty substantial for a pony, but he had a tendon injury in 2010, so it took about 18 months of like limited activity. So he was on stall rest the whole time, but just like not really riding him or being in a training program for it to recover. And then by the time he recovered, I started riding him again, but I was competing other horses. So he had a bit of an extended hiatus from competing, and I'm really fortunate that he has always just been like a super easy keeper.
He looks incredible right now.
He just looks at food and gets fat, and if you ride him like 4 days in a row, he muscles back up. So he is pretty, like, obviously I took the time when we decided to start competing him again to make sure that he was fit enough to actually run cross country.
You open these and I can't
travel. We got tiny bottles of Prosecco.
My hand doesn't work. It doesn't, like, it's too big. I've got these like gorilla paws.
So he, like I said, is a really easy keeper. He's not on any supplements except he is on the Smart Combo Ultra because it's eligible for the Smart Pack Colicare.
Not sponsored by Smart Pack, but always interested.
Yeah, would be willing to, but not currently. But that's the only supplement he's on, and he's just a really easy keeper. I am super paranoid about his tendons, so I palpate his legs every single day, which he finds really annoying. And
is there any work that you do with him when you were kind of deciding to bring him back into work?
Honestly, not. We're overflowing over here. Honestly, not specifically. I don't jump him really a lot. I usually do one jump school the week before we go to a show. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And but it's pretty minimal other than that, just because he is super seasoned and he doesn't need really any extra jumps. But we do a lot of flat work. He is really hard to get.
Dressage is not his
Dressage
favorite
is not
thing.
his forte, so
These are better,
good.
I think. It's still pretty heavy, but you know.
No, it's good. So we just do a lot of flat work. He's gotten a lot better than he was when we were younger. Like when I started competing him again last season, I was like, how did I get through a eventing training level, not dressage training level, but how did I get through a training level dressage test? Like, this is miserable.
I honestly remember scoring 40s at training level with Apple.
Oh yeah.
It's on my USDF record if you want to look it up. Go for it. His registered name was Sir Apple.
I've scored in eventing dressage. Probably the highest was a 45, which is not good.
That's okay. I've seen worse.
Yeah, but yeah, it was not good. So we've been doing a lot of just flat work, and I take him on trail rides a lot, so the different terrain to kind of naturally build up his body. But honestly, I'm really lucky that he's a super easy keeper, so I don't have to do too much. And he also just loves he knows when we're going to a show, and
he's legit.
He really truly loves his job, so I'm really lucky that he's
he's a good
pretty
dude.
Easy to maintain.
If you're interested in how I brought Apple back because Apple had no work, I did do a blog post about it because I was getting so many inquiries about how I was bringing him back. And so while there's a pretty honest disclaimer in there that that's not how I would recommend bringing any horse back from every injury or from any hiatus.
Yeah, it just depends on the horse.
But it's how I worked with him with my knowledge of being with him. And we've been partnered for almost, 18 years is a long time. That's longer than any relationship I've ever had. And so it's nice to be able to use the knowledge that I've gained from competing other horses and learning from other trainers and be able to provide him with the education he should have gotten when I was younger, and I just was not experienced to get.
Yeah, same. I've had Houdini for 17 years, and he...
Oh God, it really has been. Yeah. They're almost coinky-dinks.
He put up with a lot. Because I didn't know what I was doing because I was 10. So it's kind of nice to have a second chance to be okay, we're gonna do this and everybody's gonna be happy and relaxed and it's just gonna be for fun.
Yeah, so it's all about that. And the big thing with Apple is he gets crazy anxious. He is just he's a ball of anxiety, and that's okay. And I didn't know how to manage it when I was younger. To be honest, if I put everyone on a scale of hotness, right? It's Apple before Joy, right? He prepared me for what Joy was going to be, but I just didn't know how to use it when I was young.
He's just little, so you feel like
he's
you can manhandle
just so little, and so it's nice to be able to be no, this is the Classical Dressage Foundation.
Yeah.
I work from here, and it so far has done great things. I noticed the other day he's probably dropped 20 pounds. He's put it in, his top line is starting to come through. His neck is a little less U-set because he has a U-neck. Mm-hmm. He has some conformational flaws. So it's all about just trying to keep him comfortable working through. And I'm pretty pleased with how he looks right now. I think that he's going to do well. So I'm going to keep working him through the summer. Maybe I'll just be the big ass girl in the FEI pony classes.
They do it in the hunters. So.
Yeah, maybe that's what I do. The other day I was hey, I think we're gonna trot, and I accidentally slipped my leg a little too far back. He was oh, we're gonna collect a canter.
Oh, walk to canter? Sure.
No biggie.
Sure thing.
No biggie, Mom. And I was no, it's a big deal. We're gonna trot. We're gonna do the trot to canter. So there's a blog post about that if you are interested.
It's very in depth.
Yeah, it's a bit wordy, and I'm sorry, but
That's not what I meant.
It is extensive about how I was bringing him back and my thought process into each process of bringing him back. Meanwhile, Erin's just kicking ass with Houdini. I don't. She messages me, and I'm who is that pony? That pony is just what's the word? He's never gonna degrade. There's a specific phrase I'm looking for here, and I'm not able to find it, and that's okay. But he's never gonna go away. Hell doesn't want him and Apple yet, so we're just gonna keep having fun with them as adults.
Yeah, he's just he's really seasoned, so I don't really worry. But I don't know he's not hot, but he does this.
He is bold.
He does this thing in the start box. They count you down, and then when you get to 15 is kind of when I start heading into the start box, and he I don't know if he can count. I don't know what it is, but he knows.
He knows
And
the
so
count. 3,
I come, yeah,
2,
and like
1.
he's not a baby, so we walk into the Starbucks and we stand, and then I swear to God, he does like a wheelie when when they
That's
say
amazing.
have a great ride, and he like does a wheelie and then takes off. So
Why don't gatekeepers at dressage shows say have a great ride?
I don't know, but
I think that we should
there's
implement that.
One guy.
We should do a petition.
There's one guy that does most of the starting at like in Area 5. He like travels to all the different shows.
That's really
he does at least
sweet.
3 of the shows. He's done I guess he's done both of the ones that I've done this season. And he's really nice, and he counts down from 10, and then instead of saying go, he'll go 3, 2, 1, have a great ride. Thank you.
Well, I noticed that when we were in Colorado, and then when we live stream Kentucky and stuff like that, because Aaron and I do this thing. Whenever we go to Kentucky, we watch a couple of jumps every time, and then we walk around the course. But then we go back to the hotel room and wait for USEF to upload it, the network, and then we rewatch it and see whatever we missed.
Just to like see ourselves on the stream. And
we
then
actually
also,
have managed to do that. That was funny.
because we were rain jackets usually.
Yeah, and you
and
can
we
see
know
like
what colors we're wearing. Yeah,
it was funny.
And then to see if there's anything that we missed.
Which usually there is because we're walking around.
Yeah. So also we should probably address that we unfortunately are not going to Kentucky this year.
Not this year
because of life.
I know you have a wedding.
I have a wedding and a 3-year-old horse.
No,
So
yeah. I was like, when did that happen? What happened? When did you tell me?
Hold on.
And then I have a final. So the 29th is one of my final papers. It's also Joy's birthday. Poor thing. She didn't know what she was getting into. And then I also have an additional final, which might be published if it goes the
yay.
right way. But I have a paper due, and it's 6,000 words, 25 pages, a whole bunch of footnotes, due as of the 30th. And so usually Aaron and I plan to go, but unfortunately law school has gotten in the way the past couple of years. And next year, it will not.
Next year we're going.
It will not. So if you want to come and find us, come do it.
We'll be there next year.
An event popped up that says lawnmower. Okay. I have to put in reminders.
Intrigue.
Yeah, I know. But hopefully we're going to be able to get to Ramirez passes, because Erin did an amazing job covering the last time she went to Rolex, and I think that it would be a really great experience to be in the media pit. I would be really excited about that. And then of course all of you guys can come find us, because a couple of you, even a couple of years ago, knew who I was because of my orange shirt, and that was really an out-of-body experience, because I think I only had like a couple thousand followers, and posing wasn't in existence yet.
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2016. It was the last year I went, and people were walking up to me, young ladies who I assume are still there, and I'm sorry I don't remember your names, and it was an incredibly strange and out-of-body experience. So, to next year. We will see you there. I'm really sad to miss like all of you guys, Seth and Shelby, and all your whole gang going, but hopefully we'll be there next time. It'll be fun. Shelby was like, I'm gonna come and live with you guys for a little while. I want to do live streams with you. I was like, anytime. You are more than welcome. We'll pretend you're drinking age in the States.
Yeah,
It'll be fine.
It's fine.
Okay, so next time.
So back on track.
Sorry, tangent.
I don't know if you want to answer this one, but someone asked your opinion on.
Oh, good old Toto. Okay, so everyone probably knows what happened with Moreland's Totoless, right? Yeah, I'm just going to pretend that you guys know. So, no, I'm not. I'm going to do some background. In 2010, Edward Gall had the ride on Moreland's Totoless, right? Who was this big... His bloodlines are truly remarkable. He'd made waves by scoring in the upper 70s, right? And that just shows you how much the sport has changed, because this was 10 years ago. Nowadays, the average for like placing in the Europeans is in the 80s, which I think is just, I'm like, how can you even do that? What's going on? What's that?
Someone asked a question on the
Oh, is there a question thing? How do we do that?
Okay, wait, we'll come back to that. Sorry.
Just a moment.
I got distracted
I promise.
by a little red alert.
Yes, we'll be right there. Totoless has always been kind of a secret project of mine. Maybe not a secret project, but because he is half Trakehner. And he's half Trakehner out of Gribaldi, which is one of the most prolific Trakehner sires in history. And by that I mean the conceptions that actually stood, because his semen quality is notoriously poor, made it to be amazing horses. He's bred to... all of this gets addressed in the second Trakehner post, but just know that he exists.
It's coming.
It's a lot of information to put together, so bear with me. So what happened is that because he won triple gold in Kentucky in 2010 at the WEGs, and then I can't remember if he went to 2012. Where was 2012? Was that, what Olympic year was that?
Well, it would have been 2014, right?
Would have been. No, it's
Oh,
every
for
2
the
years.
Olympics?
Yeah, the Olympics. Because Normandy was next.
London.
Was it London?
I think 2012 was London.
I can't
And
remember.
then 2014 was Normandy. 2016 was. It was 2016.
It was Rio.
It was Rio.
It was
Because
Rio.
it's 2019.
And please don't let me sing the Rio song.
And then 2018 was
was Tryon.
Tryon.
And then 2020 is Tokyo.
Yes.
Which Posey's daddy will be going
Yay.
to. I think he's shortlisted right now.
Cool.
Long story short, this horse was essentially sold. This is what caused the upset in the the Netherlands between the Germans and the Netherlands for superiority in dressage. Now, the horse was actually part of a government sale, right? The government was involved to sell this horse from the Netherlands from Edward Gall to a young rider called Matthias Rath. I can't remember. He's got two last names, and so I'm not sure. Matthias Alexander Rath is what his name is. So they got him. He's not an older Grand Prix horse, but this horse it seems incredibly complicated to ride. There's been issues from then on with soundness. He made an appearance at, I believe, the 2015 or the 2016 Europeans and was subsequently pulled before Special Day because he had some type of issue going on with his hoof. It's a really disappointing story, and I'm tremendously upset for the horse because he didn't really have an opportunity. He didn't have a chance. He's kind of known for creating the fad of what I call hyperextended riding, right? So he's got these like super flippy toes, and his hind ends kind of trail, and he's got a lot of exaggerated front end movement, but not a lot of back end to cover it. And so if you go to any Euro dressage article where she talks about his walk quality and the extended trots, that kind of stuff, she really addresses it in a great way. I'm tremendously disappointed that he was trained in such a way that Matthias had such a hard time riding him. Now he has been he's been retired to stand at stud at Shockmole, I think. Mm-hmm. But his first full crop didn't impress me. His stud colts didn't impress me. I think they might have, they're like decent movers, but there's only one that I actually like. And so their full crops are starting to come through. And because of the quality, I mean, his price to breed dropped from, I think it was like 5,000 euro now to 2,000 US dollar. In a couple of years, and it's really a disappointment. There's a great documentary on YouTube called The Fall of Totalis. I always pronounce it wrong. And then Isabel Worth did an incredible interview about him on Eurodressage as well. Eurodressage is like my main source of all news when it comes to dressage stuff and breeding. She does an amazing job. Astrid Apples, I know you don't follow me, but I follow you, and I love you dearly. From Texas. But it was really sad, and I think that year, especially in 2010, at the Kentucky Horse Park, he shouldn't have won his triple gold. I really think that the Andalusian should have won. Fuego. I'll show you his freestyle. It's freaking awesome. It's so good. And then Totalis came in right after him, and there was like boos of the score that the Andalusian had gotten. I personally think that he should be kind of held responsible for the fads going on in dressage right now. I think he was the real pinnacle of where classical dressage and modern dressage stirred. But that doesn't mean I wish that horse any ill will. He's beautiful. He's stunning. It's not his fault that anything that happened.
If it makes anyone feel better, he's probably very well treated, and he
lives a good life.
He's probably not concerned at all about the international implications.
I think he's fine. He actually recently made an appearance at the at the Dutch show. So they brought in Total Hope and Total US, which are two of his sons that are licensed. And so they did like a pas de deux, and then they brought in Total US into the middle of the arena, and he got to see his sons, and there's some great pictures and stuff like that. He looks great, but it was a real waste of money.
He probably liked the applause.
I'm sure he did. Real waste of money in the sense that when Germany bought him. Yeah. Because there was no way.
They haven't done anything.
And as a person, I really like Edward Gall, but as an equestrian, I do not. So, talk to me about that offline.
Okay, you touched on this a little bit when we were talking about Apple already, but someone said joint injections. I have a senior, much like Apple, who I'm legging up, and I have questions.
I think joint injections should be the extreme version of what you do.
Yeah.
You know?
I have a chiropractor that I take Maria to pretty occasionally. She hasn't been in quite a while, but that was like on our third appointment, she suggested joint injections.
Oh, she suggested them on the first time when she saw Joy.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're not doing that.
Yeah, and I was like, thank you. So yeah, I agree. I think it's a pretty extreme.
I think it depends on the horse that you're riding, right? Like I'm comfortable using Previcox, or I think it's called Equicox now because Equicox, I shouldn't say Equicox. But I used it with Apple because he wasn't showing. The only thing is that it's not USDF legal. It's a banned substance, and so I understand the issue that comes with that. But Buteless doesn't show up on any panel because it's Buteless. It's not Bute. And I've seen there was a horse that I took care of for a little while. He was navicular, really badly. And they had him on Buteless, and there was a change instantaneously. But I think there's a lot of things to rule out before going to injections. And I think that I am probably in the minority when I say I'm conservative about injections, because I want to know the root of the problem.
Yeah.
I want to know if I can fix it through hard work, like doing the work instead of just injecting, which was kind of the toss-up of what was going on with Joy at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Still not convinced.
Yeah.
Apple was injected a couple of times when I was growing up, but I didn't have any say in it, and I didn't understand it. So, I mean, I did own him, but my parents owned him, and we're not an equestrian family, so it's not like they had a ton of experience. I wouldn't do it again, especially at 25.
Yeah.
Unless he was like really crippled and still showing a lot of spirit.
An extreme solution, so it should probably be an extreme issue.
Yeah, and work with a vet that you trust, a lameness vet that you trust closely. I think that there are lots of other options to try out first that are less expensive and more beneficial for a horse. That's that.
Okay, the next one is how to let stuff go and getting the best out of your ride on a not the best day.
I have a really hard time with that. Do you have any?
Yeah,
do you want to start?
I think everybody has a hard time with it because it's when you're, especially if you're riding your own horse, it's so easy to take it personally.
Yeah.
That they're not, that whatever is going on, that they're not performing, that they're not doing what you want them to do, that they're having a bad day, whatever it is, that you're having a bad day.
Because you know what they're capable of.
Right. Because you know them very well. So, I mean, my suggestion is, and my trainer told me this a long time ago, if you start finding yourself getting frustrated, pretend like it's not your horse. Like, you would never...
Oh, that's smart.
If you were riding a client's horse...
You've spent an hour on Instagram.
Okay.
Aaron's phone told her.
That's weird. If you were riding a client's horse and things weren't going well, you would never take it out on the horse because it's not your horse. It's somebody else's horse, and you know that, and so you wouldn't take it personally. So she told me that, like, I was probably 14.
It's a good lesson to learn at that
because when you're that age, you get frustrated a lot.
All the time.
Yeah, so that was, I thought, really... pretzels here. I thought that was really good advice because if you kind of take yourself out of it, then you can understand, like, this is a horse. I'm having a bad day. They're having a bad day. Whatever it is, things just aren't clicking. So that kind of helps the emotional side of it. If things just aren't working for whatever reason, then I would suggest try something else. So if you're trying to school certain movements, or if you're doing like a jump school, whatever it is, if it's just not going well, then usually in my experience, the answer is not to just keep trying the same thing, keep pushing. So just try something else, move on to long and low work. If you're jumping, maybe go back to flat work. If you have the ability to go outside of the arena and do some like trail riding type things, just something where you're still working, but you can kind of take the pressure off and change the questions that you're asking.
No, I think that's a great way of thinking about it. Joy has this innate ability to make me go crazy, just because of who she is, her genuine personality that I helped develop, right? And so sometimes I second guess it, and I'm like, oh man, I really wish I had squashed that out of you when you were a kid. But when people ask me about how to handle a nervous horse and bring them confidence, there are a couple of things that I recommend, and one of them is that there are certain things that your horse is going to be confident with, and I think that those things are the things that you should focus on when you're having a hard day. Like with Joy, it's always lateral work. It is always going to be lateral work, or going on a nice gallop set or doing some hill stuff. It's things that get you out of your mind and doing some more fun, engaging type of things. You're not schooling the nitty gritty. So with her, my go-to is always to to warm up appropriately. And if I'm not warming up appropriately, then I'm like, okay, then this is the day that we need to go do. We're going to do hills. We're going to do transitions. We're going to do basic stuff. Because you can make those days efficient in the sense that you still make them worth riding, but it's all about knowing what's going to cause you trouble compared to what you can do with your horse. Usually it's just, if it's really that bad, I'll lunge and I'll just groom and try and get out of my head. And it's hard, especially as an adult amateur. I'm sure that pros face it maybe more than the rest of us, but we have like real jobs and or real life and real people that we don't just get to work with horses all day. And so letting go of that baggage when you go into the barn is kind of hard.
Yeah. And like, as an example, even the last time I rode Joy, we were warmed up, we were like well into the work that we were actually schooling that day, and if she would get a little bit tight in the canter to where she wasn't wanting to move forward, then I would just kind of, not drop the reins, but I would drop the reins and just have her like hand gallop a lap, just to like get us both out of like loosen up and out of our heads, and then we'd go back to what we were doing. So sometimes you might not necessarily need to like change your whole tact for the day, but just like take a minute and just like diffuse the situation a little bit.
Yeah, practicing mindfulness is hard, but I think it is the most important when you're working with horses. That's what taught me mindfulness, not anything else really.
What's that quote? It's like the only two emotions that belong.
Oh, the only two are humility and a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that cannot be more true, honestly. There's a lot of little hearts going up there. But I try and do that. And I know that I was guilty when I was younger of not being able to let go of what was going on in my life.
Yeah, and it's super common if you're, especially for teenagers. I think it probably happened.
Even in my 20s, it was rough.
But you learn.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so easy to get frustrated and be like, why isn't this working?
When you start feeling frustrated, take a walk break. Take a step back. And realize what can you do that's going to make a difference that day. And meaning like maybe like one of the things that I remember Joy specifically set back so hard when I was on her one time that she reared and flipped over on me in the arena. No, it was a whole disaster. It was a nightmare. But I got on and I was like, no, I know what we're going to do, and we're going to work on counter canter. So we were going around a big arena doing changes through the trot and through the walk from counter canter to true canter to counter canter to true canter, on and off, because I knew that was something that would continue to keep her thinking forward. And that's the big issue, is that when I get in my head, Joy starts thinking backwards, and I become painfully aware of it.
Yeah.
So being able to just know what's going to get you guys out of that funk, and even if that means give up the day, it's not even giving up the day, go on a hack.
Yeah, just
go have fun. We ride horses for fun, and sometimes I think we forget that.
I think often we forget that.
I know, sometimes it's just money. It's like just such a commitment. But go out and have some fun. There's nothing, your horse is not going to hold it against you ever.
Yeah.
So that's that, I think.
Okay, I don't know if you want to answer this one here, or if you want to maybe consider it for a future like written post, but about the classical training pyramid.
Here's what I'll say about the classical training pyramid. If you don't find a trainer that follows it, find a new trainer. The pyramid directly correlates to the levels in dressage. We've got 2 minutes remaining.
Oh, no.
I plan on doing a post about this because I think it's a great topic, and I would love
probably
to
easier to follow written as
yeah,
well.
You don't want to hear me talk about it because I just go like on tangents, and it's no fun.
Okay, should we pause and restart?
Yes. Let's get this question real quick. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on just a second, and we're gonna go like that. Perfect.
Oh, no.
I don't know where what's going
Just
on.
hold it.
There we go. Okay, we'll be back in a bit. I'm gonna need another drink. Yeah?
Okay, we'll be right back.
Yeah, how do I end this now? Oh.
We're back.
We're back. You didn't get rid of us.
I don't think anyone's on here with us yet, but
Not yet. That's okay. Everyone will come back.
just wait.
I'm hoping this tastes better. I'm sorry that my drink making skills were so terrible today. Usually I'm pretty good at this stuff, and this
I don't
is
think
not,
they're terrible.
they were not what I was thinking. Okay. There are some people coming
Hi,
back.
friends.
Hello. What was the question?
Okay, so the question that we got as like a sticker in the live thing was someone who is switching from jumping to dressage, and it got cut off, so we're not sure exactly specifically what they were asking, but someone who is going from jumping to dressage, switching disciplines.
So someone messaged me on a question sticker, I think either yesterday or today, and I believe I answered it. with some tact, probably more tact than I have right now. But feel free to check out my story, because I think it's still up there. And if it's not, that's okay, and I can send it to you. But I just need, does it have her name? Who it is, like the username?
Her name's Sarah.
Okay, Sarah. Sarah, I will message you if you do not see that. Just shoot me a message or whatever it is. Because we can talk about it. I think the big thing is just finding the right trainer, and honestly, that's a lot of my advice. Also, don't be embarrassed that your core is going to be different than a dressage rider's core, and you're going to have to fix that. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't want your face to get cut off. You're the cute one.
Well, I can move this way.
Okay.
But I'm trying.
The big thing is that just don't be embarrassed and communicate with your trainer a whole bunch, saying that you were
It's just going where
I don't know where it's going. If you were a jumper, your body has developed differently, and that's totally fine.
Yeah, and you have kind of a different default when you sit in the saddle.
Yeah, it's very different. So finding a rider or a trainer that has some experience with that is great, but if not, someone who's just empathetic to your situation. Feel free to message me, and I can send you the answer to the other young lady who asked me a very similar question, if not the same question, if that wasn't you. So there we go. What's next?
Okay, were there any other potential names for River or Posey?
I didn't even see that one. That one's great. Okay, go for it.
I'm terrible at naming things.
I had so many names.
I'm so awful. Like, I can't come up with a single name. So Pretzel, my dog, was named by my sister-in-law. She came named.
So much better with mainly Prosecco. God.
Lucy, my other dog, also came named.
Reagan's on here.
Hi, Reagan. Hi, friend. Houdini and Maria came with their names. I'm just terrible at naming things. So his jockey club name, he's off the track, his jockey club name is Shark River, and so they were calling...
Who came up with that?
I don't know. It doesn't have anything to do with either of his parents either. His sire is Discreetly Mine, and his dam is Company Storm.
So they couldn't come up with anything? Discreetly Company?
Shark River, she said, hey guys.
Hi.
So Shark River...
Come see me sometime. I miss you guys.
It is a place in New Jersey, apparently. I Googled it.
What?
It's like a river, I guess, in New Jersey.
Is it on the Jersey Shore? Do you get to do your Snooki accent?
No.
Make her do it.
But, so, I mean, from that name, it's either Shark or River. They were calling him Baby Shark, the place where I got him from.
Well, yeah, because of the,
which the woman that I bought him from, she doesn't have kids, so she was like, what is Baby Shark? Like, I don't know what these people are talking about, so she had to figure it out. But yeah, I like River better personally, that's what I went with.
That's fine.
But no, there were no other options. It was either Shark or River.
So I'll start I'm
gonna let Pretzel in because she's quite demanding.
So the issue with tricaners, it's not an issue necessarily, but they recognize the responsibility and the importance of the dam line more than the sire line. I think which is an incredible part of being a tricaner owner, is that the mares are so influential in the society. So that meant that Posey's name had to start with an F, at least her registered name did. So I kind of just went for names that I could use dually, which included, so I had a couple of colt options. The joke was that it was named F-Bomb until the end of it, because Joy made me drop so many F-bombs in the time that I've been training her and working with her that I thought it was kind of funny. And honestly, I thought that it might stick, especially if it was a colt. So I had a couple. I had Ferdinand as a colt, Ferdinand Federal if it was born on tax day, because there was a chance that it was going to be born on tax day, and I thought that Federal was kind of a good name.
Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald. That was my
One
favorite.
time we went to eat Mexican food and we just sat at the table and I went through
many names.
No, I went through the Jockey Club registry and I just
Fs.
read all the good F names and
It
we
was
just
good.
compiled a list.
And I liked Fitzgerald because, I don't know if you know this, but there's a band called Fitz and the Tantrums, right? Which is really good. And so my joke personally between Taylor and I was going to be that it was Fitz and his tantrums, and I thought that was really funny. No one else did, and that's okay. And then I had a dual gender name of Fame. People apparently like that because they thought that Fitz and his tantrums would be fun. I still think that's funny. I had the dual, maybe next time. If there is a next time, there will be sometime. I had the dual gender name of Fame because I adore that David Bowie song, and it made me laugh because anytime I talked about maybe potentially naming a full Fame, Taylor would go Fame and do like the Fame song, and then that meant that Taylor would do my entire freestyle music to David Bowie.
That'd be fun,
right? Which would be great. So that was on the table. For mares, it was always going to be Fanfare. I loved Fanfare. If it was going to be Chestnut or Gray was going to be Fanfare. And the great thing is about grays is that you can tell when they're born if they're going to go gray. And then if it was a bay mare, it was going to be Faye, which I love because I know a very classy mare named Faye who's an FEI horse. And then Faye is also the middle name of my great aunt who not recently, passed away a while ago, but I was very, very close to. It would be Faye. And,
Yeah, I would give it an E.
but all of them were going to have the moniker of MN at the end, which stands for my family name, which is McGee-Nolte. So that's what the MN at the end of Posey's name stands for. She is technically, she's technically Fanfare, right? All one word with MN at the end, and that made it unique enough. I loved the name Femme Fatale, but do you know how many horses are named Femme Fatale?
Probably a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot.
We just looked at today the babies of Chilly Morning.
Oh my God, I was
Stallion.
dying. I think that you should still do that, by the way.
They're, yeah, okay. Yeah, they're ridiculous. Some of them are very nice, but some of them are so stupid. Like, I'm sorry.
If
but
that one, what was it?
Chillionaire?
Chili.
Like,
What was the one
millionaire,
about
but
Nips?
chilly? Like, no, Nippy Morning.
Nippy Morning. If that horse's name is not Nip
There was
Slip
like
in the barn.
Nippy Morning, Cool Morning, Brisk Morning. Like, they just took every play on Chilly Morning that they could find.
You know that could be registered as a trickaner and you get to name it an F.
And then there was Chili Pepper.
There was chili pepper and jalapeno,
Chili Pepper and also jalapeno.
which is jalapeno's funny. Okay, so those are the
That was
two
a
names.
tangent.
Joy came with her name. Technically, I kind of had a little bit of input because her breeder was going to either name her Gift, yeah, Gift, or Joy, because she was born at a weird time in that life and was born a whole month premature and was completely healthy. So she kind of brought some all by herself. We just walked out and there she was. Red too, because she wasn't supposed to be red. There was a 3% chance of her being a chestnut. It was a real shock for everyone involved. So Joy came with it, and then her dam line is known as the Fair line. So there was her dam was Fair Diva, her grand dam is Fair Rock, who went by Farah, and then all of the others were like Farewell, Fair Wind, all of that kind of stuff. And I wanted to branch away from the fairs because she's Fair Joy, and I went with something that was just fanfare, because I think that that's really cute. Also, a good friend of mine on here messaged me a video of her competing at a lower level, not a lower level, like the level before, I think it was probably advanced or medium, before the like pre-St. George, the FEI classes start. And apparently they do like traditional Papa music, like German Papa music. And it made me laugh so hard because I love that style of music. And I thought that fanfare was just the perfect name for a young filly to come out and be like, I'm here, I've arrived. So long story short, long story long. So what's next?
Okay. What is your opinion on the Colorado State University's equine science program?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't know either. I have heard really good things about it, but
Yeah, same.
I personally don't have enough information to have my own opinion, but all I've heard is good things about it. So
Yeah,
take that for what you will.
When I was going to undergraduate, I considered going to a college that had a equestrian program, but I realized that most colleges didn't have dressage programs, and at that time Joy was 3, and so I was going to have to let people ride my 3-year-old chestnut trickaner mare, and I was like, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to do that. However, I think that if you go and visit and you talk to the trainers, if it's something that you're looking into, go talk to the trainers, go see the results, go talk to the people who are involved in the program, and I think that you'll get a good gauge on how you would fit in personally, or if maybe there's somewhere else that better fits your ultimate goals.
Yeah, I do. We're not close or anything, but I do know a girl that went there and was in the equine sciences program, and she went there. I believe she moved back here, and then she got a job working for a really prominent dressage trainer in the area. So
Really?
it worked
Tell me
out okay
offline
for
who
her.
that is.
So it worked out well for her, and all I've heard are good things about the program. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard anything negative. I've heard negative things about other programs, so I would tell you if I heard. Okay, what's next?
Guilt over not riding and or competing.
I have a blog post in the works, but if you're willing to address it, I'm more than happy to let you take the reins. Literally.
Yeah, I mean, we can just touch on it briefly, but
It's a long post, and it's
there's
really
a lot to it.
Yeah, and the one that I'm posting, and I'm sure that if it's something that you want to build off of, feel free to. The stuff that I'm posting is really deeply personal, because if you have paid any attention to what's going on in my life and my horses, I am incredibly emotionally tied. My mental health is incredibly emotionally tied to my horses and to my competing and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm doing my best to be as open and candid with this post as I can, but that means that it takes a while because it's hard to write about. It talks a lot about, it's really draining, and it talks about, my depression and how it works into it, my anxiety and how it works into it, my ADD and how it works into it, like all of the things that I deal with on a daily basis, and then being in graduate school and having a husband and all of those things. The biggest thing that I can tell you is that your horses don't care.
Yeah, that's the thing. Horses, you have some horses that are like kind of show-offs in their personality,
which
and
Joy is completely.
Yeah, and they like love going somewhere where they know people are watching them and they're getting like applause and cheers and whatever. But if your horse is healthy and taken care of and they have a pasture to walk around in or whatever it is, they're perfectly happy just to be a horse. There are plenty of days where I will go to work and ride like a bunch of horses, and then I come home and I'm like, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So life sometimes does get in the way, and right.
There's no guilt, right? You bought this animal, right?
Yeah,
because you love the sport.
As long as you're taking care of your horse, then I don't think there's any reason to feel guilt.
One of the big things that I feel is that I'm not doing my horses justice. I think that was a really common feeling, especially growing up with Joy in particular. Apple's always been kind of a mess, and that's okay. But Joy in particular, I knew that she had all of this talent deep inside of her, and that I was always anxious about either making a mistake, or, which I learned, you're going to make mistakes no matter what, and that I wouldn't do her justice.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my big thing, is that she has so much talent and so much to give that I wouldn't be able to show her off appropriately. And that's what's really driven my my continuation of my education in riding as an adult amateur and as a young rider, to be honest.
Yeah, which I will say is important, and that's why you buy a horse or breed a horse that you're gonna compete. And I think there are certain personalities of show horses where, like we were talking about, they do thrive on that, but also that's a completely human construct. Like, we made that up.
We did. And
Joy doesn't care. Like, if
No.
she gets to, be mentally stimulated at home and she never has to go to a show. Houdini, if he got to graze in the paddock for the rest of his life, like, he would not be worried about it.
Exactly. And I think a good example of that is look at a young horse. Look at an under 3-year-old that's not broken, and they don't care.
Yeah, they're like
Posey's
cool, I'm a horse.
Yeah, Posey's like, hey mom, and like whinny at me when I show up, and I'll spend some time with her, give her some rubs, give her some treats, or work with her a little in hand, and then that's all that she needs. That's all that she knows, and there's nothing wrong with just backing off for a little bit, because to be honest, if I was forcing myself to continue a marriage, because that's something I would like to continue. I would like to continue to be married, but also show on top of being in law school. I know that my mental health would crumble. And so what's most important for me is knowing that my horses are happy and healthy, and they enjoy each other's company, and that I can hack if I want to, or I can train if I want to. Right now, I'm just dealing with injuries, but theoretically, I would like to be able to do all those things. And if you feel pressure from anyone around you, tell them to go screw themselves.
Yeah.
Because I'm on no time limit. Joy is barely 10. She's not even 10 yet. I've got at least another 15 years out of her, if I'm lucky, you know?
Yeah.
So again, I will address this more. And hi Robin. Hi Mama Robin. I'm glad you missed me cursing. I'll address this more on a post because it's something that I want to be really candid and honest about. I think that's important.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're more than welcome to ping pong off of it.
Yeah, we'll tag team it in riding, but also, the horses that do kind of thrive off of that competitive atmosphere, like Houdini really loves his job, and I think that he's like the coolest horse ever. So I just want to show him off.
Pretty legit.
I want everyone to understand that he's the coolest horse ever. So that's why we're competing again. But if he wasn't able to compete anymore, like, I don't think he would have any concerns anyway, which way or the other. But
Apple hated competing. He hated being in work. He loved being around kids. And so kids meaning adults, like human children and actual foals. Like, he's a great man.
So just understand that
They
The
don't understand.
pressure is a completely human construct. Like,
Yep.
that's all on our end. The horses don't care one way or the other, as long as they are taken care of. And then if you are going to show, that they are adequately prepared.
Cheers. That was well done. Good job. Yeah. Well, more on that later. Because 2 adult amateurs, both married, both with multiple horses, it's a lot to
It's a lot.
manage. And so I'm hoping to share more about that. And I'm sure Erin will do an amazing job showing off more about that as well.
Okay, thoughts on things that need to change at high levels of sport, like Olympics, Rolex, big shows.
I will let you go first because I saw this question and I have thoughts.
Okay.
I want you to go first because I know what I want to talk about.
Okay.
We don't actually communicate with each other about these kinds of things until we see each other. So
Until we're here.
here we are.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think that the federations are making efforts to...
Someone named Bailey Williams just joined. Mick Williams. Hey, your name is spelled the same way as mine and you have an Irish last name. Good job.
I think that there are changes being made that are meant to improve the sport and improve the safety. I
The
think,
safety changes have been incredible.
yeah, the safety like innovations. I also think there are some interesting things happening in terms of trying to bring like a wider audience to the sport.
Which is something I would like to talk about for
Okay.
dressage.
Okay. So I have been following a lot of stuff that Equa Ratings has been doing,
Which is great.
and
I love them.
I love them.
So much. I want to be friends with them. I want to buy them drinks. I want to take them to the pub.
Yeah, they're really like, it's a brilliant idea, the company, and everything that they're doing. Like, I don't know if anybody that's watching this listens to their
Follow
podcast,
Equi Ratings.
but they have a podcast every week or every 2
Do they
weeks.
have a
I don't remember, but it's so fun. And so they do, usually they'll do like previews and recaps of like the big events. They're specifically
That's really cool. I had no
eventing
idea.
geared, but they also have been doing this series. I think they've only done A and B, but they call it like Alphabetti Spaghetti.
That sounds incredible.
And
I'm
so
already on board.
I don't know, one of the guys, I forget which one it is.
The one that sleeps on the plane?
I forget, I don't know which one.
Well, there's one that sleeps
There's
on the
one, Sam, that sleeps on the plane, but
Yes.
there's one that just compiles a list, and so he'll have like 20 or 30 items, and so they'll just go around the room and he'll say pick a number between 1 and 30, and I'll pick one, and so it'll be like B, and he'll be like, okay, what do you think about Blenheim?
Oh,
And
okay.
then they just talk about the event and how it's run and the last competition. There'll be like horses with that name, riders with that name, events.
Oh, cool.
And they just like talk about stuff, so that's really fun. That's not every episode, but then they also do recaps and previews of the big events, and they talk about they like predict winners, and it's just super interesting because they use statistics to...
I think this is a good example for us to maybe think about doing a podcast. Because I'm really on board with that shit right now.
Yeah, they're super fun. I can't remember. So it's the 2 guys that run Equa Ratings, and then
Find them on Instagram. It's on their blog, their bio.
cannot remember the name of the girl. There's a British girl that is on it, and then Jenny Autry is American. I think she works for Eventing Nation, and she's on it, and it's
Perfect.
so cool.
That's awesome.
So
Dressage is a lot less objective, right? Because objective, like for you guys, it's just like, for you guys, way to marginalize an entire discipline.
for Eventing, it's like
It's a little different.
safety and audience.
Right, and
Those
I
are,
think
like,
that's
kind of the two big
incredible,
focuses,
right? Like
for
the
sure.
guy whose shirt he was wearing, he was the husband, right? When we were standing in line to get pretzels one time, and it says, "I'm just here to watch all the cross country."
Yeah.
Right? I think that's hysterical. Dressage, unfortunately, does not have anything like that. The only thing that is maybe mass audience appeal is the Cure, is the Grand Prix freestyle. And I gotta be honest, the average person doesn't like that. Taylor hates it. He hates freestyles. He doesn't understand it. He doesn't get why people do it. Like, he gets the idea of being able to show off an additional degree of effort and difficulty, but the push for FEI
But
dressage,
he's like, what am I looking at?
he's like, the music sucks, and that's really his only game because he doesn't know anything else, and that's okay. I love him anyway, because he will be doing.
He tries.
He does try. He does a good job. My big thing with dressage is that they're trying to make it more commercial. And I think that that's the wrong way to go, because that meant a big name, Great British Dressage rider, feel free to Google it. I will not say it on here. Suggested taking the halts and the reinbacks out of a test. And I think that that is a crucial part of being a Grand Prix dressage rider. It's a crucial part of being a dressage rider.
Well, and also, like, what's that going to accomplish?
Well, because it makes it quicker. So they wanted to shorten the Grand Prix test from 7 or 8 minutes down to like 5, right?
That's not 3 minutes.
No. Well, I mean,
Like,
it depends on the horse, right? But so they wanted to take that stuff out and strictly focus on the fancy
a
stuff.
minute at the most extreme.
Right. However, in Europe they're testing this judge the test yourself kind of thing. So at a couple of Europeans, there's some type of interactive thing where people who were attending could actually score the movements themselves and then gauge what they had scored the rider. What they had scored the rider at compared to the actual true judges' scores. And I think that that's incredible. I think that that's a fascinating idea because it reminds us just how much the average person has to learn. It's like that Olympic meme that goes around that I always send you where it says every Olympic sport should have an adult amateur in it to make sure that we know how it feels. I think that that's a great way to move. I think that we need to go back to some more modern classical principles about dressage because I think that there is a lot of, for dressage horses, I think there are some amazing horses right now, but the criteria for certain movements has wildly changed from the 80s and the 90s, which is fine because the quality of horses has changed.
Right.
But I would like to see a more classical view on it. The issue is commerciality, right? Being able to make money off of what we're doing, and that's a big issue. And I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah.
I have what I think is true and what I would like to see, because fun fact about me, if you didn't know it, I can judge any dressage test, including the Grand Prix stuff, to within 2% of what their actual score will be. That's one of my secret talents. I'm not saying that it's something that I can ride to, but I know how to do it because I used to listen to my mentor do all of the scoring, and I was like, because he was a judge as well, so I was able to pull all of that, and now suddenly I can do it, and it's kind of this weird like weird ass sixth sense.
I do like when we go to Kentucky, they do the.
Oh, and you get so tired of listening to me.
I don't listen to you. I listen to Sally.
Yeah, exactly.
They do the current rider and then the leader on the big scoreboard, so you can see like how they're trending.
So they do the same thing in real dressage,
which is cool because you can kind of follow along. But
I think that a headset option would be really neat for the upper level dressage events because I think that would tune people in as to why. I think we've taken a step forward for USDF finals to broadcast live. What's going on?
Keep going.
Europeans grow
up knowing about dressage, even in the general public. In the U.S., it's definitely a less popular horse sport. But I see what you're saying.
I mean, I completely understand that. But at the same time, dressage is supposed to be a global sport. And so I'm not saying we have to dumb down what the Europeans know to amp up what the United States know. There are certain things that need to happen within the United States Dressage Federation versus the Federal Equestrian Federation, or Federal Equestrian. What is it? It's the French
Equestrian Federation.
Yes, the Federation Equestrian Internationale or whatever it is. I don't speak French.
In English, it's the International Equestrian Federation.
Whatever it is. I think that, but we still need to play to that audience, right? We need to understand what that is, but at the same time, that doesn't mean compromising the integrity of what Grand Prix Dressage is about.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm cut off because I'm going to get mad.
Yeah, I mean, you have to decide what your goal is, because if you want it to be a more mass appeal sport, then you have to make changes.
Yeah. And that's
but like the Equa ratings, people for eventing, which is a little bit different, but their goal was to...
I think that an Equa rating system for dressage would be a fascinating idea.
Well, so they originally started the company because they were like, why don't we bet on this sport? And it was because nobody...
Why don't we bet on it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Because nobody has a baseline.
Oh, okay.
To figure out, like, because eventing in particular the scoring's very complicated between the 3 phases.
I'll bet with you at Rolex.
Okay.
Yeah?
Not Rolex. At not Rolex.
At not Rolex. Yeah. We will do the betting.
We will bet at not Rolex. But so yeah, that was their whole thing. They were like, why don't we bet on eventing? And it was because it's so complicated when it comes to the scoring that there's no kind of baseline. And so they were like, well, to start, we have to compile information to figure out how the dressage scores are trending, and then who's making time on cross country, and who is jumping clear in stadium, and so on and so forth. So that was the whole goal with that. dressage is a little bit different because the scoring obviously is so different. So
Well, the scoring is so different, and the average person. I know it's not all the way down. I'm
no,
not.
it's in the way.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were just trying
It's
to
like
hold it down.
straight in the middle.
I think that unfortunately, to have an idea of what's going on in dressage, you have to have an education in dressage, and I don't think that's fair. But at the same time, I don't think we should compromise the integrity of what a true Grand Prix is.
Yeah,
In order to make it more commercial. I know that money is the name of the sport, but the people who compete in FEI essentially have like.
Well, I mean, like, so compare eventing or dressage to like a reining competition or barrel racing competition. They're winning like trucks and trailers.
We are winning a 60-cent ribbon, and I got to put this
And
on my non-real resume.
I won a garment bag 2 weekends ago.
That's true. I won a ribbon with roses on it one time.
Yeah.
And that was a real big accomplishment.
So, but I think it's because, like, I mean, I don't know enough about reining to speak with any level of education about it, but I think that in general, maybe those sports are a little bit easier to understand, even if you don't come from like a horsey background.
So someone commented about European dressage in the US, and I completely agree. The issue with that is that Europe, if you take...
It's the same one I commented before.
Yes, I love you. I follow you and I love you. If you take Europe and you put it in the United States, it takes up maybe 13 states, if that, out of the 50. And most of those states are traditionally Western states. And it's really hard to educate people about something that they think is stupid about horse dancing, right? Like, that's really hard. Educating my husband was easy enough because he wanted to learn to impress me before we were dating. Like, that was really cute because he learned the difference between a leg yield and a half pass and a shoulder in. And he was like, and it was great, and I thought it was so sweet. But I do think that the U.S. is held to a slightly different standard because we are a slightly different country, and that's okay, right? Because we're not most riders in the U.S. are not competing in the European circuits unless you're, the two riders that went to the finals, whatever their names are. I can't remember. Casey Glass and someone else. I can't remember right now. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. But I think that starts really at a federation level. That starts with the USDF. That doesn't start with us. We can make that movement, and I think the USDF is making the movements towards the right ideas, but it really comes to people who are truly passionate about the sport and paying attention to what's going on internationally and not just nationally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Someone's coming inside. Hey, Chase. We're still talking.
Just never stop.
It's not. What are you doing? Yeah, it's live. Say hi to everyone.
Right now.
Hello, everyone.
This is Aaron's husband. He's over there.
He's getting a beer. Okay. Favorite quiet time / moment activity with your horses?
Go ahead.
At feeding time right now, because my horses, I try to keep them out 24/7 when the weather's nice. So unless it's raining, they stay out in the paddock. But for many reasons, Maria eats a lot more than Houdini, and she eats really slowly. So I have to sit out there with them to like physically block Houdini from chasing her away from her food because she's super submissive and he's super aggressive. So I got one of those strip hair groomers that Bailey wrote the review about. So
They're so good.
yeah, so recently, the last couple of weeks, I've been sitting out there, and then while they're eating, I'll just groom on them with the strip hair. So that's what I've been doing recently.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing.
They're a little feral right now because they're just been.
Oh God! Don't even talk to me about feral. Posey's got like her winter coat has yet to release its grip on her butt, and so the rest of her's really slick, but she's got these like moose hairs everywhere else, and I don't even know what I'm doing. Yeah. A quiet moment activity with Joy is spending time grooming her. She specifically loves her mane, her forelock, and her tail being done. She actually loves the dock of her tail being itched, and I think it's really cute. She also loves bath time, and so I like pampering her because it's what makes her feel good. Apple just likes company, so I tend to spend a lot of time with the strip hair, which I keep calling a strip easy, by the way. And
which is different.
Which is I assume that's what some alcohols are known as. Is a strip easy.
Yeah,
right?
the one with the metal teeth is a slick easy.
Maybe that's what I'm getting confused. I felt really bad because the lovely lady who creates the product like messaged me
Betty.
Betty, and I almost called it a strip easy in my message to her.
Yeah.
so I like to just spend quality time with him, whether that's grooming, brushing his tail, or all that kind of stuff. Posey is kind of just letting her lick me until she gives up. Sometimes that means grooming, sometimes that means just hanging out with her while she eats. But my new favorite thing is that she really likes music. It kind of comforts her. And I remember Joy really liking music when she was young too, is that I would play it on my phone, and it just kind of maybe it's because it brought me peace, but it brought them peace as well. And so I've started playing various new bands that I've been listening to, her songs, and I've been grooming her at night while she eats her hay and Apple's finishing his food, because there's just like that whole dynamic. And I love being able to spend that time with her and be able to pick up her feet and check everything that's going on. And
I usually play podcasts on my phone whenever I'm doing anything with River.
Right now,
it's just like extra like background noise, and it kind of like settles him.
I love that.
It's not just like silence and then a deer.
I think just general quality time for all of them, but they have specific ways that they want they most appreciate their quality time.
Yeah, and then honestly, Houdini takes
Summer. The other one is already posted on my profile, and it will be posted on the website later. Because I know you and your bum leg need it. She broke her leg.
Oh no!
Like there was a freak accident that happened, and now her leg is shattered.
That's not good.
No, and she's not a sitting around kind of gal.
Yeah.
So it'll be there for you. Excellent is what she says.
Excellent. So half the time, honestly, with Houdini is just I literally have to like stand in front of him, and then he puts his head on my shoulder. But it's not sweet. It's just like he's literally trying to like crush me so that he can get past me to eat Maria's food. So, like
He's
literally
like 14-1.
It hurts.
No, I believe you.
Yeah, he just like slams it on my shoulder. Okay. Okay, so basically fitting, tack, bits, bridles, girths.
Okay, I gotta be honest that I was relatively saddle fitting uneducated until recently, and which I bought a new saddle this year, which is great, and I love it, and Aaron looks better in that saddle than I think anyone would. I don't know what it is about it, but it just works. So I'm in the process of learning it. However, I think it's important to take measurements on your horse before buying anything, right? Because Joy wears an oversized brow band, but wears a cob size everywhere else. And when we got, her face is the same size. And when I got this wonderful modified drop nose band that I use, I was lucky enough to be able to measure her and then get everything back. And then when it didn't work, I was able to trade out pieces. And so the drop nose band actually ended up being a horse size, because it didn't fit correctly. It only had one hole, and even then that was really cranking. I say just follow like traditional guidelines on how to fit stuff. And if you don't have a trainer around, then go online and check out forums and stuff like that, because it's the best way to do it. Saddles are not my forte. I don't understand them.
Yeah,
I get it.
I can look at a saddle and tell if it's like relatively well balanced and well fitted, but there's a lot to it.
Right, like I can put Apple's saddle on Joy and be like, nah, and I can put Joy's saddle on Apple and be like, oh no.
Yeah.
But it really, learning that from a professional is probably the best way of doing it. Impartial saddle fitters, yes. Not just saddle fitters who want to represent their brand. Right. I was lucky enough to have a saddle fitter who did represent custom saddlery, but she also was open to other brands, and so she helped me fit a Mac Rider to Joy, which is a more modern saddle than I actually like, but it's what Joy prefers, and I'm willing to make compromises on just my aesthetics and what I prefer to ride in, if it makes her comfortable.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the best way to go. Check measurements before you buy.
Yeah.
And measure horses, just in general.
Yeah, I like when we go to Kentucky, for example, I always take a list of like all my horses' sizes. Yeah, because they always have stuff on sale.
Bits, bridles, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and like both of my horses have like their sizes have changed, like for girths specifically. Houdini used to have a 48-inch girth that fit him just fine, and he lost a lot of weight when he went back into work.
Well, it looks great.
And and so I had to literally this girth was up to the top hole on my billets on both sides, and he's pretty round, so it was not a good situation. So I had to get a
friend from
smaller
Australia
one.
Joined. She's the one with Maya, the beautiful little filly, who I could not love even more. And I am so excited that you're here.
Yay! Hi.
I love your filly. I know she's going through that awkward shedding stage right now, but we can talk more about that later. She does look like kind of like a raccoon, but super cute. So, yeah, that's exactly what I mean, is that Joy literally wore a pony bridle until the time she was like 6, in which I got her a horse-sized bridle and it's too big. So now she's in this like cob makeshift thing that I created out of bits and pieces in my tack room.
Yeah, well, Houdini wears a cob-sized bridle, but then I had to get it. So the bridle that I got him for dressage is black, but it has like metallic silver padding.
Oh yeah, he has good,
because
nice
it looks
padding.
nice on him, but it was like pulling the cheek pieces into his eyes, so I had to get the brow band let out an inch on either side. And then Maria is like kind of in between a horse and a cob, like she could wear either, really.
Yeah,
so it just depends. His bits are wider than her bits
That's crazy.
because her mouth is so tiny.
The great thing is that when I was younger and I overestimated sizing, now I have a bunch of horse-sized tack that will inevitably fit Posey, because Posey is going to be a freaking monster.
Yeah.
She wears, by the way, I put on Joy's halter yesterday to lead her in and out because I just didn't run out of halters. I don't know where it was, and it fits her completely. It's a freaking full-size halt, like the brown leather one that's a little too big for Joy would probably fit Posey now.
Yeah, I have I had a full-size bridle that was just kind of sitting around that was already fully assembled, so I was like, oh, I'm going to take this one out and just use it on River. It was like gaping everywhere. It was so big. I had to punch a bunch of holes in it.
It's so frustrating.
He's using Houdini's old bit.
Do you need more pony-sized tack? Because I have more.
I think cob.
I have cob,
pony,
but well, because it's like the stuff because Apple has a big head for a pony,
yeah,
and then Joy has a tiny
like
head for a horse.
Right now.
Okay, well,
So.
He's got plenty of hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
Waiting. Okay,
So we'll see if he grows.
what's next?
Importance of cross training.
I love cross training. I actually, in my lovely interview with Caitlin with the posted yesterday, we talked about the importance of cross training, and I think I might have mentioned Aaron in that. My husband is texting me, and
It's the lawnmower.
Yeah, and he ran out of gas using the lawnmower. Oh, that's not going to be fun to deal with. I thought he was staying late at work. There was something that happened that I thought he might have to stay late at. Cross training is my favorite thing because when I was younger, I desperately wanted to be an eventer, but I never grew the balls. And I didn't really have a great trainer either. So I try to incorporate as much cross training as possible because I think it's great for the brain, the body, and honestly just for fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, eventing is just like
it's essentially cross
professional
training.
cross training. So you have my opinion on that.
Yeah, so I try. Right now it's hard because I'm at my own place and so I haven't built Cavalettis, but that's my post-finals ordeal. But usually I have a couple of barrels that I can use as a jump, and so I try and use that. I do a decent amount of gallop sits with Joy when she's in work. Right now she is not because she bummed up her leg and I don't know what happened. And then when I was at a boarding facility, Joy typically went out on the track in the mornings and would go into stretchy schools that night. And then the hard work would go on days that she didn't go out on the track. But because she is so fit, you don't tire her out. It's all about just trying to get her to focus on the work at hand. She is just like, she'll go for hours. She doesn't stop. I don't understand how it works. I'm tired looking at her. But I think that dressage riders tend to get caught up in this idea that everything has to take place in the 20x60 sandbox, and that's completely wrong. The most important things that can happen to you are going to be outside of the arena. So it's good mentally and physically for both horse and rider. Mm-hmm. So do it.
And it's also
it's
really
fun.
Well, it's really helpful to be able to keep everything together when you're in different circumstances. Like every place that you go to show is not going to have a nice footing sand arena, or even
I don't know, you might have to ride on grass, Erin.
Or even a flat grass arena. Plenty of times I've shown on a nice hill like this.
Yeah, so you just gotta work with it.
It's so valuable to be able to keep their minds on their work when circumstances change.
Yeah, and I think it's great to build up the muscles that you don't necessarily build in typical dressage work. Bringing I know, a flat grass arena. Oh no.
You have to warm up in a paddock.
What? Anyway, that's for later. Continue on. Let's move on from this before I get saucy.
Starting dressage without a trainer.
Don't. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean that you have to at least have some experience as to what you're doing. I got to be honest and say that a lot of the things that I did were because the things that I achieved, and I'm not saying that I achieved like crazy national rankings or super high scores or anything like that, but I did deliver a pretty solidly produced young horse into dressage. Or because I had some experience with dressage as a young rider, and then I continued my education on my own. What that means, I actually did a post on that if you want to go and look at it. That has a couple of opportunities to go online and test your knowledge in other ways to gain some experience. But I think that the best thing that you can do is actually go and find a trainer. And even if that means that you don't take lessons with them, you at least audit, because that's the most important thing, is learning from seeing. I'm a very visual learner, and I think that was the best way to do it. If you have any more questions, please feel free to DM me, and I am happy to help with you. I think that's the best that I can do with that right now. At least contact me offline like this, and we can talk about it more, because I can give you some more specific direction. I think that's the best idea.
Okay, best way to build up top line on a horse that's never been taught to lift their back.
Hill work.
So I would start on the ground.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that
Hill
too.
Hill work is very helpful, but
well, like in hand too.
yeah, but also even just like in your grooming routine.
Oh, the belly crunches.
Yeah, so if you like the midline of their belly, kind of
where
like
the belly button is.
Yeah, the belly button, like at the back of their rib cage. You can kind of just like scratch it with your fingertips. Some horses need more pressure than others. Like Maria is pretty sensitive, but I massaged a mare yesterday that was like, I don't care if you
just use a brush.
Yeah, she was like, I don't care what you do to my belly, I'm not doing it. So some horses need more pressure than others, but you just direct pressure with your fingertips into that like belly button area and kind of help them engage their abdominals, and you can see their back lift. And then also there's a point to the left and right of the dock of their tail. And same thing, you just do like direct pressure with your fingertips. And they do like the kind of cat pose where they like scrunch up their back and arch it. So just that can kind of loosen everything up and get them into the mindset of like
how to work the back.
How to lift their back.
So Erin actually did a great video of this when she was massaging Joy
Yeah,
one
I
day.
did a video. Joy does a really good cap.
Yeah, she does. It's one of her strong points. And the belly crunches are incredible. I think that those are amazing things to work into a horse that maybe has not been taught to use their back correctly, or their conformation has inhibited them from being able to use their back correctly. And then if you go into under saddle riding, I think that doing poles or raised cavalettis with side reins, right? And if you know me about side reins, you need to use a lunge cavesson. That does not go on the bit. Is incredibly helpful for encouraging a horse to use their back and come through and really, really utilize that power. But it does start on the ground, like Erin said.
Yeah, just to kind of like, if you have a horse that literally like does not know how to lift their back, then definitely I would start with that. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, lunging is really good.
And I typically only use side reins when I'm doing cavaletti work and pole work, because Joy will be like, hey, and she'll do this like brontosaurus thing.
Yeah, and side reins are not to have them overflex, but like
a horse with side reins should be able to look up confidently.
Right. Yeah, it's not to like force their head down, to be clear.
I just happen to use it with a cavesson because I found it to be the most beneficial for Joy. I think that it's more classical, and she tends to benefit more from lunging sessions where the actual lunge line is not connected to the bit, because that's too much interference with the actual connection in the horse's mouth.
And I also have used side reins. They're not tight, but they're just kind of a like focusing aid, if that makes sense.
I think
for
it's
like a young
guide.
horse. It's just because otherwise they're like, what's over there? Which is not super helpful when you're lunging them. And so it can just kind of like, they're not tight, like they can move their head around completely freely, but it just keeps them like, it's just kind of a gentle reminder to focus them. But yeah, and then hill work is really good.
I love hill work more than anything else in my life, really.
Yeah, and a lot of the horses that I've ridden at work, they move, they seem to be used to moving from front to back rather than back to front.
Oh, it's the worst.
So if you, like as a rider, can start focusing on trying to use your aids from back to front and collect them and extend them and whatever you're doing from back to front rather than front to back, that will help them engage their hind end and naturally lift their back a lot as well.
I see a message about sliding side reins, and I know those as running side reins, which is technically draw reins, but that are connected to the bridle and then tied through the saddle. And I think that those are an incredible option for young horses that are not super balanced. And that's how I plan on introducing Posey to connection in the next couple of years. I think that when I was younger, side reins were the only thing that I knew, and I thought that anything done with draw reins was bad. And as I'm growing and as I'm learning, that I think that running reins or how they show off young stallions at inspections, I think that's the proper way to go, because it's much easier for a young horse to balance with running reins instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I've used draw reins a lot on Houdini
because Houdini is a piece of wood.
Jaw is like rebar right here, so it's just kind of, I don't use them to crank his head down and force it into a position.
But he's small already, so it's hard to get him to pay attention.
He just does not, like, he has zero interest in long and low work, so I just use them to kind of encourage him. So I'm not really using them much. I'm mostly using my actual rein, my snaffle rein, and then they're just kind of there as a reminder to, like, encourage him, I guess.
I don't use draw reins, but that's just because I didn't know that
I would never use them on Maria.
Yeah, I just didn't know that draw reins could be used as running reins.
Herself.
Yeah, she'd be like, whoop. Could be used in such a way. So I hope to use those as a beneficial option compared to side reins in the future. Yeah, correctly used, they're great, but the thing is that most people are not educated enough to use them correctly, and that's the big issue. Is that people are like, side reins are the problem solver for all issues, but they've never even used a snaffle bridle correctly. So I think that in the right circumstances with the right people, is that if you use draw reins as running reins, there is a good opportunity for a horse to be more balanced and to come to connection a lot more naturally. It's not collection, it's connection. It's not collection. So people use them in different means. Now they're a lot less static than than actual side reins are, and so I think that it's an option that I'm going to consider moving forward, because it is a lot more beneficial for a young horse being 2 to 4 years old. Shall we move on before I get on a tangent?
Hold on. Yeah, so Danielle is saying that
Hi, Danny.
you don't want to use them after the horse is moving from the back, and people just use them and focus on the front instead of addressing the hind, then possibly using them to help balance the horse. Yeah, so Houdini's like kind of a unique horse. So
Do you want to talk about this? Because I have to pee like a motherfucker.
Not by myself, no.
Okay. Well, wait for a second.
We only have one more question left.
And then I have something I want to address about the whole horse guard thing real quick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so like Houdini is super collected, like just his
he's built
body shape
like that way.
Yeah, so he is really under himself naturally. He's like a little rubber ball all the time.
No, he always is. He's
but
like
he just has no interest in being submissive at all. So yeah, draw reins with him, you could really easily use them to just like crank him down. But I think that's the same with any tool. Like it could very easily be misused. So you have to have somebody to be able to show you how to use each tool correctly, whether it's side reins, draw reins. What's that thing that goes on the gogue?
The neck stretchers.
Yeah. Any of those you could very easily misuse
The
them.
Pessoa systems, the entire thing.
Yeah. So you just have to have somebody who can teach you to use them correctly.
Right, and to...
None of them are to be used to force the horse into an artificial frame.
And I completely understand using draw reins, especially on a horse that's coming back from rehab, right, and is super energetic. At that point, your whole focus is on keeping them healthy and keeping them sound and correct. I have ridden a single horse in draw reins, by the way. I can remember it exactly, and my mentor told me, this is a man's horse. You're going to need the draw reins. And I said, I'm not going to need the draw reins. And then I got an ant and flew in my eye, and I cried and then he told me, he's like, there's no crying allowed in dressage. And then he realized that an ant had actually cried and flied in my eye, and it was amazing.
Somebody asked if you ever tried jumping your horse.
Yeah.
I assume they're not talking to me.
Aaron does all the jumping. No, so Apple, funny enough, was actually a little show jumper back in his day. He just was really dishonest about it. We schooled through the pony jumpers, which is about 3 to 3.3, and it was incredible. I absolutely adored it, but I really didn't have the trainer to kind of push me along that route, and so I fell into dressage, but I still believe in Joy adores jumping, and I think is honestly a fantastic jumper. She's really amazing. Erin did a beginner novice little combined training event with her a couple of years ago, and then also clinicked with Lainey Ashker at the Rolex event rider, and so who tried to buy her out from under me, which is really interesting. But I enjoy it. I don't have any real jumps at home, so I kind of just make do with what I can, but I think it's a ton of fun. I absolutely adore it. I just do not have the fundamental foundation to pursue it as a career. I much prefer dressage.
I jump my horses a lot. I assume you weren't asking me.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right.
Okay, last question is the stories of how we were able to keep our ponies from childhood to adulthood.
Parents who believed in us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's really it.
Yeah, I got Houdini when I was 10, and he was at...
Oh my God.
Wow.
I'm so sorry. I didn't even know that was going to happen. Hold on. Okay, I did the other side too.
That?
Oh, that's rough. I'm so sorry.
God, that was amazing.
My neck has been, since I had my wisdom teeth yanked out, that my neck has been so sore that I haven't been able to crack it correctly. So this is the first time. So
The whole
witness
thing
something
cracked.
magical.
So Houdini lived at a boarding facility, and then at we had family friends that had facilities for their horses at home, and he and Maria lived there for several years.
It's empty.
Sad.
I don't want yours. No, I don't want yours.
And then trying to think, maybe 6 years ago, my parents decided to buy property
Which is this beautiful facility in which we are right now.
that could sustain the horses.
Both of my horses have lived here at one point.
Yes. And now my husband and I live here, and we have both of my horses, and then River will be joining us soon. Honestly, I haven't addressed this, but the reason that he's not already at home is because Houdini and Maria are still competing this season, and so I don't want to move him back and forth, but also I don't want to leave him. I don't want to move him here and have him get acclimated and then leave him alone when I take both of them to a show.
That's just a disaster.
So probably over the summer he will be coming home, but yeah, it's just all thanks to our parents that we are able to keep them, and now we both have our ponies at our houses.
Our baby ponies, our
Yeah.
best friends.
Yeah, at our houses, and we're able to take care of them and see them every day.
Yeah, and return all the love that they showed us, even if they didn't know it, because they are horses. It's still wonderful. I know that someone asked how old everyone horses are. Joy is, so fun story, Posey is born in exactly a week before Joy's birthday. So Apple turned 25 on the 23rd of March. Joy will be turning 10 on the 29th of April, and then Posey will be turning a whole year on the 22nd of April. So I think that I'm really excited about that, and I've got some fun ass shit planned for it.
So Houdini just turned 23 last month on March 15th. And Maria turns 21 tomorrow.
Oh, it's her birthday tomorrow.
Her birthday's
really?
tomorrow.
Do I need to bring my camera out here and we can get some balloons?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me know.
Okay. Yeah, so Maria turns 21 tomorrow, and then River is 3, and he turns 4 next month on the 17th.
Sweet baby. Someone asked what saddles we have. What do you have many more saddles than I do.
I ride all of my horses, my jumping, like kind of schooling saddle, which I show in, but my everyday saddle is an Ovation. It was like
God bless,
it was
right?
like $600 or $700 brand new. I think we got it from State Line Tack, but it's, if you take care of it, like it has lasted. There's no issues with it at all. It is really light. It fits all my horses. I have a Wise. Wise is the brand, Wise Equestrian, that I ride Maria in.
Is that your dressage saddle?
No, that's my, like, it's more of a cross-country cut saddle. So it's
your
super,
dressage saddle and I did not get one.
it's super forward cut, and so I can't really use it on Houdini because it just is like, it takes up his whole shoulder because it's very forward cut, but it fits Maria really well. And my dad actually won it in a raffle in Kentucky one year.
Isn't that the Dutton saddle?
Mm-hmm.
That's the Dutton saddle.
So Philip Dutton helped develop the line of saddles, and he rode cross country in this saddle, and then they auctioned it off the next day.
And
so
she freaking won
my
it.
dad won it. He
There's a
bought-
Dutton saddle sitting in her saddle
He
room.
signed it. It says Philip Dutton, Rolex 2012.
Yeah, in his silver
Sharpie. Yeah, so that one fits Maria. I haven't tried it on River because he's like this big, so
He is little.
I don't know if it'll fit him yet. But I ride Maria in that one, and I ride all of them in the Ovation. And then my dressage saddle is I got it from KL
Is it a
Select.
Kloss?
It's a CHS. It's a Kotas.
Kotas, and it was a K.
Arthur Kotas. Is
My
the-
God, I hated your saddle. I know it works for the horses.
It
on,
fits
but
me and it fits my horses.
If it's
so.
you, great. That's fine.
It
When I rode in
actually,
it-
so there were two versions of it, and one was made, I think it was like buffalo or something. It was nicer leather.
yeah.
But the like actual saddle was different, and the seat, like mine at least has like a little flat spot, but the other one I tried that was the nicer leather was just like a full curve.
Yeah.
And you just like, was just like out of the saddle every single stride. It was horrible. But mine fits me really well. I used to work at a saddle shop, and so I got it at a very nice discount.
And a very nice discount. So I ride Apple in an old-fashioned Steuben. It's very flat in every single way.
I should show you guys my first dressage saddle though.
They're the same saddle. Like, they are so flat. It's ridiculous.
It has like its patches are patched.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It was really used when I got it.
So the Steuben that I have for Apple is it's a traditional one. It's not a Tristan. I'm not sure the exact brand, but you can find it. It's actually a pony fit saddle. So it's very flat in the seat and very flat in the knee. It has no knee roll. I'm not even gonna lie. And it has short billets, which I think is really
It's
interesting.
like a jockey saddle that's cut like dressage.
Yeah,
which is what my
it's
first
very
one
flat.
was.
Which I've used for a very long time. Joy originally had a Wintec 500 that I absolutely adored. I loved that saddle so much because it fit every horse I rode it in. And then eventually she outgrew it, so I sold that. And then I was lucky enough to have apparently been nice enough to someone for them to give me a custom saddlery star, which I don't get. I don't understand how it could be nice enough to anyone to give me that saddle. But they gave it to me at a show one time, knowing that I was kind of on a budget. I rode in it, and I got a 69 at third level or something like that, and then they gave it to me officially. And then after that, we recently this year moved to a Mac Rider Revolution, which is a secondhand saddle from a friend of mine in the area, and it fit her mare, who's strangely very differently shaped than my mare, and now it is a lovely addition. It's a lot more modern than I would have inquired into, but Joy really enjoys it, and she likes expensive things. So, and I don't. So she gets to have all the saddles. And then I don't know what Posey will go into. I have no idea. She's so big already that she can probably fit into Apple saddle that I think she'll probably end up in a big wide gullet at some point, which is gonna be freaking great. Yeah, I think that was that. Is there any other questions left over?
That was all the questions that you said you had.
I do. So I think in regards to the past couple of weeks with the horse guard stuff, I just wanted to say, first of all, a huge thank you to everyone who supported the girls that were attacked, and I have had incredible outpours of love towards me, but I think the important things is that the girls that were really targeted were minorities, they were minors, and they were para riders, and I think that's more important than just little old me. Like, I'm fine with that kind of stuff.
Right. I think the things that were said about Bailey were really ugly.
Yeah, they were not fun.
But I do think it's important to acknowledge that the other things that were said about the other girls that were involved were about, were ableist and racist
and threatening a minor is never acceptable.
Yeah. So it was ugly all the way around.
I am really pleased at how Horse Guard resolved the situation. I had a really wonderful conversation with their head of marketing, who may not be super familiar with dealing with large accounts on Instagram, but I think that she's doing a great job. I know that it's really hard managing that kind of stuff because they had put their trust in an agent of the company, and that's really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that even with all of you guys loving on me, and it's so sweet, that I'm fine. Like, everything's okay. Don't worry. I'm going to continue to ride in a pasture, and because I'm poor. Let's remember that. But I really think it's important to support diversity. I was not paying attention, and I let the computer lapse.
We ran out of time.
The computer, the phone. All I wanted to say is that I don't think anyone should ever accept bullying as being okay, even if it is taken in a private message setting. Again, I wished no ill will upon the company that happened to employ this certain person, and I was really appreciative, and I think all of the girls that were targeted were really appreciative of the actions taken by the company. I think it was important to, honestly, I was really overwhelmed by the community itself. Our community online is kind of a remarkable place, and I am so beyond honored to be a part of it and to have had so many wonderful messages from people that I'm not normally corresponding with of any kind. What I want to say is that if you ever feel threatened by anyone online, or if you feel marginalized or minimalized by anyone online, that your voice does matter and that you can just certainly step away. There's nothing wrong with occasionally having not necessarily such a great thought. Occasionally Erin and I will talk about things that maybe we wouldn't share with the general community, but when you include people in a private chat about bashing other riders just because you don't agree with certain ideals, whether it's their body size, or whether it's because they do ride in a pasture, or because they happen to have one leg, or because they happen to be a minor, or anything like that, I think it's really important to just step away and find some grounding so you feel safe. Because online is supposed to be it's not a safe place. Dateline has taught me it's not a safe place, but it's important to feel like it's a place that you have control over. And you shouldn't say anything online that you'd be afraid to say in real life. Again, I am so enamored with all the gratitude that was brought towards me, and I'm so grateful for all of it. But I really think that the focus should be on the fact that a certain person targeted a young rider under the age of 18, a minority, and the fact that someone was a para rider who happened to have one leg. Any comments about those kinds of people should really be empowering. Just because you don't agree with their decisions doesn't mean that you have to bash them online. And I'm incredibly honored at the way that it was handled by all of my followers. I couldn't have asked for a more respectful outpouring of generosity and kindness from everyone, and I just wanted to tell you thank you. The end game with Horse Guard was managed appropriately, and I'm very, very pleased with the outcome. I think that a company probably wasn't prepared for that kind of outstorm, and I think it's really important that we showed them generosity and we showed them kindness the same way that we would show each other kindness when dealing with that kind of stuff, because one person doesn't define a company. But I just wanted to say, despite the fact that I haven't been super active online in like a week, maybe it'll probably be more, it's not because I don't want to be around you guys, but because the whole situation and helping bring confidence into other girls into speaking up and sharing my own screenshots of things that had taken place was, it took a lot of energy out of me, and a lot of energy that needs to be really focused on my studies, unfortunately.
Real life.
Like in the real world. And I will kick ass for any of you guys, but there are some things, especially towards the end of the term, where I need to focus on other things. And so that's not a reflection on how I feel about y'all whatsoever. I just thought it was important to address, because Erin was incredible support through the whole process, and so were a couple of other people, and those other young girls targeted, and I think it's important to talk about. But just know that there is no ill will harbored toward any of the people involved, including the person who might have done the targeting. I think that it's important to know that people sometimes say things that they might not be held accountable for, and they may have been given the opportunity to atone for in advance.
Yeah, I think that we, like, collectively, we have to be careful, because so if people aren't allowed to learn from their mistakes, then kind of what's the point? If people are given an opportunity to learn from their
Yeah.
mistakes and they choose not to take it, that's a different situation. But specifically referring to Horse Guard, the way that they handled it, I didn't like the statement that they initially released.
Right.
But they eventually did the right thing, I think.
Especially as a young company, this is not SmartPack or Dover that we're talking about.
Right. They don't have a whole office full of people that's handling their social
Or
media
legal
or their
compliance.
HR. Right. The only thing that I thought was, well, why didn't they say, we've seen what's happening, give us 24 hours and we're
I
going to look
agree.
into it.
Yep.
But again, they're a young company. They have never had to deal with something like this before. So
Yeah, and
I think that if people aren't allowed to,
make mistakes.
yeah, learn from the mistakes that they make, then why would anyone feel the need to become better
No,
after making a
completely.
mistake? So if you can see that somebody has taken the opportunity to improve and to learn, then you should definitely reward that.
No, I completely agree. Like I stated multiple times, that there was no venom sent towards either party. There was no venom sent towards Horse
Yeah,
Guard or
people-
the agent of that.
Holding someone accountable is not necessarily mean, as long as it's not done in a mean way.
Yeah, and I would urge all of the people who are watching or who will give this a watch or interact online to remember that being on Instagram or being on Tumblr or being on anything like that does not mean you automatically sign an NDR, a non-disclosure agreement. I don't know why I said NDR instead of NDA, but I think there's non-disclosure something. There's an R in there somewhere. But I think it's really important to remember that what you say is online is not anonymous, even if it is a private chat.
Yeah, don't assume that anything that you ever do on the internet goes away, or that it is anonymous, or that it is safe
To share.
with people that you don't actually know.
Right. I think a lot of the things are, I know Erin face to face, and we've known each other for, a decade now. But saying things to people that you meet online can be really detrimental overall. Because you don't actually know them face to face, you don't know how they're going to interact with the rest of the world. I was lucky enough to have a couple of dear friends in this group that shared some of what was going on with me. Now I understand that they have subsequently been threatened for sharing stuff like that, and they are under the age of majority, which is 18 in the United States, and I'm gravely disappointed in that. But if you have such a hateful or inappropriate thought to share, maybe don't share it online, because that's always where stuff is not private. Again, like I said, I don't wish any harm upon the company. I'm very grateful about the way that they handle things, and I don't wish any harm upon the agent of the company that made these comments. But I think it was important for this company to grow and to understand how their agents could be held accountable for certain information.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that was important to address.
Yeah, especially when someone so publicly represents a company.
I agree. Yeah.
But the main difference is holding somebody accountable does not mean that it's okay to then extend the bullying to that person.
Yeah, I mean, if you're caught in a lie, if you've ever been caught in a lie when you were a kid, it doesn't mean you continue to lie. It just means that you say you're sorry and then you move on. And if that means that you kind of suck up to your parents for a little while, that's great. But otherwise, I think it's important to just use the opportunity to learn and to understand how strong our actual community was. I think that the petition got, I think it almost got 1,500 signatures within less than 24 hours, which was incredible to me. But I think that it's important to understand, and if there's ever an issue where you feel afraid or are concerned, then express those feelings and block those people. That they're not worth your time, even if they are, influencers on social media.
It's all pretend.
It's all just fake.
Yeah.
The most important thing is being a kind human being in real life. So I hope that you guys continue to conduct yourself with dignity and with tact. I was very impressed by everyone who expressed their opinions and showed support to everyone. And I just wanted to say thank you. And kind of if you have any questions about it, you're more than welcome to ask me about it. But that's where I come from with the whole situation.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're good?
Mhm.
And of course, Erin helped me through the whole thing. I wouldn't be able to do it without her. So, ready?
Ready.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So, to next month, to May, which won't happen until mid-May. Because my last final is on the 7th? I think it's the 7th. And then after that, I'm probably going to be drunk for 2 days. And then
Good.
from there, I will be a real person again for a little while.
Good deal.
So, thank you all for tuning in.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
really appreciate it. Again, this will be live on my story for 24 hours, but the most important thing is that it will all be on the blog
Yeah.
for forever.
Forever.
That's great. So I'll be sure to put the link up, and Erin will too, and you guys can watch it at your
Leisure.
Yeah, at your leisure. It's not exactly a short-winded talk, so
Yeah, we went for a while today.
that's okay. We had lots of things to talk about today.
Yeah,
we did. So keep in mind for next month, if you guys have topics that you would like to see us discuss face to face, with drinks in hand, which always help. Always are a little bit of a benefit. Feel free to send them to us, or to a couple of days before the next one, I will drop a little question link.
For input.
Yeah,
from
just
everybody.
keep a running list. Why not, right?
Can send them to us anytime.
Yeah, of course. So thank you guys for tuning in. Again, everything will be up soon.
Yep.
Yeah,
As soon as my laptop can handle it.
which we will see. We will see. Sound good?
It took a little bit of time last time, but it's okay.
You did a great job, though.
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you guys again.
All right.
Appreciate it. Lots of love.
Bye, guys.
We'll see you later.